A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all-old-time radio.
Kroger Tender Ray Beef. No other beef so fresh can be so tender. Presents Hearts in Harmony, transcribed. K is for Kroger. C is for cut. B is for beef. KCB means Kroger cut beef. And Kroger cut beef means more meat for your money. It's a fact, ladies. And here's the reason Kroger cut beef gives you more meat, less waste. Before the meat is weighed and priced, the Kroger method of cutting beef removes excess bone, excess waste, and stringy ends. Yes, that's before the meat is weighed and priced. So you can see that means more meat for your money. You get top U.S. government grades of beef, meat that's tender, juicy, rich red, and marbles with just the right amount of flavory fat. You get a better value in top-grade beef. For example, when you buy a Kroger-cut porterhouse steak, the Kroger method of cutting beef removes the long, stringy end and excess waste before the steak is weighed and priced. You don't pay steak price for stringy meat and excess waste. Remember, whether you buy a steak or roast, you receive more meat, less waste. But see for yourself. Visit your neighborhood Kroger store. Get Kroger cut beef and get more meat for your money. And now, Hearts in Harmony. Like a lot of other young women in love, Penny Gibbs in love is not a happy girl. And it's just being in love that makes her unhappy. Her friend Peg Martin says to her,
"Oh, Penny, you're acting like a schoolgirl."
Oh, Peg, I feel like one. I didn't think anything like this could happen to me again.
It can happen to anyone. And it usually does to everyone sooner or later.
No, I wasn't prepared for this. I was going along, quietly minding my own business, and very content to live normally and happily, when suddenly it happened.
And now you're miserably in love, aren't you?
Yep, miserably is the word.
Why be unhappy about it, darling? Barry's a fine man. He's one of the finest I've ever known.
He's anything but a fine man, Peg, and he's the first to admit it. Nope, there's an awful lot wrong with him. The trouble is, I don't care. And that's where I know I'm wrong.
No, Penny, that's not being wrong. Love or, well, whatever you want to call it. Because, you know, I don't much believe in love. Love gives us the power to overlook certain faults in certain people.
Yeah, I know that, but if you don't believe in love, Peg, how can you encourage me in my love for Barry?
Just because I've had belief in it knocked out of me, that doesn't mean you can't believe in it. Oh, I'll admit some people find love. Maybe the people who deserve it.
You know, Peg, I did everything I could to ignore Barry. At least to treat him like a friend. And then, suddenly, I found myself in love with him. You know when it happened?
Oh, probably sometime when you weren't even thinking about him.
No. No, you probably laugh at this, but I realized how much I loved him when I saw you out riding with him one morning.
Oh,
I knew you'd laugh. It's just that silly. It is that schoolgirlish. And that's why I'm so ashamed of myself.
I wasn't laughing at you, Penny. I was laughing at myself. I never thought I'd be a matchmaker.
Well, no one's made a match yet, Peg. After all, just because I'm in love with Barry, he doesn't have to be in love with me.
No, he doesn't have to be, but I'm sure he is.
In love with me? Oh, you don't know how he acted when he saw me at his mother's the other day.
What'd he do?
He wouldn't even speak to me. No, Peg, I'm not joking. He looked at me and refused to talk to me. It was just as though I weren't there.
Penny, you're the cutest I've ever seen. If love does this to you, I hope you're in love the rest of your life. Silly, don't you realize what Barry was doing?
Being very rude, I can tell you that.
Oh, he was just teasing you.
I wish I could believe it.
Well, you know that's what he was doing. If you'd been in your right mind at the time, you'd have realized it. Love does a lot of damaging things to you, doesn't it?
It certainly does. I don't think I'll ever feel the same again.
Oh, you'll be all right just as soon as you get used to it. Look, maybe if you don't just sit here and think about it, you'll feel better. Look, I have to go downtown. Why don't you come with me?
No, I'd like to, but I promised Nora I'd help her with a few things this afternoon.
You sure you won't come with me?
Thanks, Peg, but I can't. There's so much to do around here, and I can't let Nora do it alone.
Penny?
Mm-hmm?
My daughter is causing you a lot of extra trouble, isn't she?
Look, Peg, Julie isn't any trouble. It's wonderful having her.
Penny, I wish you'd be perfectly truthful about it. There's a vacancy where I work, and I can have a full-time job if I want it. And, well, then Julie and I could afford to live somewhere else.
No, Peg, you stay right here, at least for the time being. You're not sure that you want to stay in Rossville, though, are you?
I don't know. I rather like it here. I certainly don't want to go back home. And, well, it's better for Julie in a town like this. I might even like to settle here. I have to settle somewhere, you know. And next fall, Julie is going to be starting school.
That's right, she will. Hadn't thought about it. You know, Peg,
what?
It'd be awfully nice if you decided to live in Rossville for good. We had such a good time together years ago.
Oh, didn't we, though?
Mm-hmm. You know, I think you and I will always get along. I don't see why anything should come between us.
Well, right now I'm going to put distance between us. I've got to get downtown before it's too late. Is there anything I can get for you?
No, thank you.
Well, I'll phone before I leave downtown. Maybe you'll need something, and I might be able to...
Just a minute.
Well, who opens the door for me but the most beautiful girl in the world?
Hello, Barry.
Uh-oh. This is Be Cold to Barry Carlton week, is it? Shall I go?
No, come in.
Come in what, the doghouse?
Aren't you working this afternoon?
I'm really getting a dose of my own medicine, huh? Yes, I'm working, but I decided to knock off early this afternoon and take you for that ride I promised a couple of weeks ago.
Thanks, Barry. I'm sorry, but
Look, I know what you're cool to me about. I'm sorry. I thought I was being cute snubbing you at Mother's the other day, but I realized right away it wasn't very funny. And, Penny, honestly, I'm sorry.
It's all right. Don't worry about it.
Well, I won't if I'm forgiven.
You're forgiven?
No, I'm not. When you forgive people and mean it, you look them right in the eye. You don't stare at the floor.
All right. I'll look you right in the eye and I won't stare at the floor. You're forgiven.
And will you smile for me, too?
How's that?
It's an awfully weak smile. Penny, believe me, I don't know what made me act that way at Mother's. I don't know what made me do it. I guess there's still a lot of the smart-aleck kid in me. But I'll never do it again, I promise.
Barry Cotton, you better not really. You better not.
You should see yourself when you're trying to be angry.
I'm afraid trying is right. I don't know what power it is you have over me, but I want to be angry with you, and I can't be.
Good. And you want to go for a drive with me, and you can. The car is waiting without. Without what? If you'll forgive me for an old gag, without us.
Oh, Barry.
Penny, you're beautiful, but let's get a little sun on that face of yours. The top of the car's down, so let's drive out and get some of that.
Oh, Barry, this air's made me sleepy.
Me too, Penny. Maybe it's a good thing we're back in town, or I'd be going to sleep at the wheel.
Oh, don't you dare.
Don't worry. I think I can stay awake at least until I get you home. Well, did you really enjoy the ride?
I loved it, Barry.
And you were going to refuse, weren't you?
This morning, I had promised myself I'd never speak to you again.
Well, I'm glad you don't keep all your promises. You couldn't go long without speaking to me, could you?
Why, you conceited thing, you.
It wasn't conceit, Penny. That was just wishful thinking. I hope it's true, though, is it?
I don't have to answer that, do I?
No, but... Say, look who's waiting for the bus.
Who? Well, it's Paige.
Hey,
she's loaded
sure.
down with bundles.
Well, I guess we'll give her a lift, huh?
Yeah, I think we should.
She doesn't see us yet.
Call to her, Peg. Hey, Peg.
Pay as you enter, lady.
Hello.
Is this bus going my way?
Sure is, but throw the freight in the back. This is a passenger bus, not a freight hauling truck.
Does this cost more than the bus?
Well.
If it does, I'll have to owe you. I'm down to my last dime.
Come on, Peg, sit up front with us. There's plenty of room.
All right.
Come on.
Oh, that's it.
No extra charge, I hope.
Well, because it's you, we'll give you this lift on the house.
Oh, thank you. This must be my lucky day. I'm sure it is. Penny, I finally found that pair of shoes I've been looking for.
Oh, good. What'd you get?
I'll show you when we get home.
You think this is your lucky day, Peg. Well, it's mine, too. Here I am on a beautiful afternoon with two of the most beautiful girls in the world. Not bad, not bad.
Barry. Oh, Barry, that's really funny.
You didn't really.
Yeah, so help me, I did. You'd be surprised how stupid I can be sometimes. Or maybe you wouldn't, huh?
Oh, stop it.
Well, here we are at home. I guess this is where I lose my cargo glamour.
Well, thank you for a wonderful ride.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks for the lift, Barry.
You're welcome, Peg. Too bad you had to go shopping this afternoon. It was beautiful in the country, wasn't it, Penny?
Mm-hmm, just beautiful. Would you like to come in for a while, Barry?
Sorry, gee, I'd like to, but I have to be home soon. Oh, Peg, you want some help with those packages?
No, thanks. Oh, good night. How stupid can I be? I forgot to get something.
You can get it tomorrow, can't you?
No, dear, it was something I promised Julie. I'd better get it or she'll be terribly disappointed.
Well, say I'm driving through town on my way home. Stick in the car and I'll give you a lift down.
Oh, would you, Barry?
Sure.
Oh, wait a minute. I'll take those packages in for you, Peg.
Well, don't you want to drive down?
No, thanks. I think I'll see what I can do to help Nora with dinner.
Well, I won't be long.
Oh, dinner won't be ready for an hour or more. Thanks again for the ride, Barry.
You think I didn't have fun, huh? Bye.
Bye.
You sure you were going through town on your way home, Barry?
Sure, I always do.
Well, you don't mind because I'm riding down with you, do you?
Mind? What do you... Well, no, why should I? I like to have company. And you have to go back to town.
Barry, as a matter of fact, I don't.
Sure you do. You said...
Barry, please don't hate me for this.
Huh?
Well, I am going to get Julie something, of course, but to tell the truth, I didn't have to. I just wanted to ride downtown with you, that's all.
Peg, I don't get it.
It's nothing to be worried about, Barry. But, well, remember the other evening, the evening when I phoned you?
Yeah?
I said that I had to see you.
Yeah, you were blue, and you said I cheered you up.
Well, you did. I felt good for several days after that. Well, Barry, I'm blue this afternoon, too. And I thought that being with you for a few minutes might just do me a little good. That is, as long as I'm not imposing.
Hey, you're not imposing at all. In fact, I'm flattered to know that I can do you some good. I wish Penny would tell me I was of some use to her.
Oh, Penny's pretty independent, Barry. I envy her for it.
Yeah?
I'm afraid even if I am a little older and a mother and a widow, well, sometimes I need someone to lean on. You'll forgive me for being so outspoken, but you're a very great help to me, Barry.
Forgive you? I think I'll thank you instead. You make me feel good. Maybe I ought to see a little more of you than I do.
It would be awfully helpful to me if you did, Barry. Awfully helpful.
Is Peg Martin Penny's friend, or isn't she? Just what are her motives in this sudden interest in Barry Carlton? Be sure to listen to the next dramatic episode of Hearts in Harmony. KCB. KCB. KCB means Kroger cut beef, and Kroger cut beef means more meat for your money. Yes, Kroger cut beef gives you more meat, less waste, because before the meat is weighed and priced, the Kroger method of cutting beef removes excess bone, excess waste, and stringy ends. In buying Kroger cut rib roast, for example, you don't pay rib roast price for excess bone and waste. The chine bone is trimmed, the waist and short rib end removed, giving you top U.S. government grades of beef that's tender, juicy, rich red, and marbled with just the right amount of flavory fat. And before the meat is weighed and priced, the Kroger method of cutting beef removes excess bone, waste, and stringy ends. Remember, whether you buy a steak or roast, Kroger cut beef gives you more meat for your money. But mind you, you can get Kroger cut beef only at your neighborhood Kroger store. So go there as soon as you can. Step up to the meat counter and ask the Kroger meat man for Kroger cut beef. You'll get delicious and juicy and tender beef. And you'll get more meat, less waste. That means you get more meat for your money at your Kroger store. Listen in again tomorrow, same time, same station, for another thrilling transcribed chapter of Hearts in Harmony.
Countdown for blast off. X minus 5, 4, 3, 2, X minus 1, fire. from the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in 1,000,000 could-be years on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, presents
X minus 1.
Tonight's story, Colony, by Philip K. Dick.
The existence of Planet Blue, the fourth in orbit around a G-type sun somewhere in the Aldebaran sector, was predicted by spectroscopic analysis and spatio-mathematic equations some 50 years before an exploring mission was dispatched to it. The research team, under Commander Stella Morrison of the Colonial Administration, went into orbit around Planet Blue at 0700 Standard Sidereal Time. Authorized procedures were followed.
Aerial photography completed, Commander.
Anything show on the plates?
Well, Masterson was suspicious of these lines towards the poles, but the angles seemed to be coincidence.
They're not artifacts.
Glacial faults. Geological survey reports no volcanism.
Mm-hmm.
The launch is back. Dodge has a landing site pinpointed. Preliminary atmospheric tests look good. There's a 0.7 bulge in oxygen, but it's just enough to make you feel good. Looks like an open-air job. No pressure suits or condenser masks.
Well, that's precisely what they thought on Centauri 1. And the whole expedition was wiped out by spores.
Of course, I was assuming a favorable biocheck.
Mm-hmm.
Preliminary photographic survey, Mr. Wood.
Thank you, Dodge.
You want them played back here? We haven't transcribed the tape.
If you please, Lieutenant.
393. Al, pipe the photo tapes up here on 324.
Looks like a green world, all right. Punch up the tape, if you please, Lieutenant.
All orbital checks proved positive. The atmosphere and gravity Earth normal to 3 places on the Grayson scale. And the exploratory research ship, lowered itself by the Meyerson-Lay atmospheric skip method, came into a stalled tail landing just before sunset on a day marked in the logs as planetfall 0. The hatches remained sealed as a 2-mile perimeter was scanned by direct instrumentation. Major Lawrence Hall of Biosurvey reported EEG sweeps to the bridge.
Of course, it isn't conclusive. We've run into life forms that didn't broadcast a brainwave at all. The Grylodon lizard on Ganymede. Skull acted as an effective shielding due to a heavy lead constituent in the body chemistry.
Major Hall, I am not interested in a lecture on extraterrestrial zoology. Is there or is there not life within the range of your instruments?
I'm sorry, Stella. The readings show no electrical brain activity whatsoever, and that covers life down to the level of invertebrates. There may be a few worms turning out there, and unless they're thinking awfully hard about something, we wouldn't pick them up.
Well, thank you. I want preliminary drones out for sampling. How long do you think that will take?
Well, a thorough job. Take about 2 weeks.
I have a schedule, Major. How long do you can give me a protective Schedule C clearance?
2 days. And I ought to check airborne spores and microorganisms.
Carry on, Major.
All right, Stella. I'll let you know if I turn up any, special diseases on Planet Blue.
Drone sample missiles were dispatched at sunrise. Air scoops, ground samplers, and vegetation choppers returned to base, and the bio team instituted full prescribed tests. Immediately identifiable airborne dangers were ruled out. Outside of the possible allergenic action of pollens, Planet Blue was ruled safe for normal exploratory procedures, and the real work of the survey was gotten underway.
Here's the morning report, Commander. 4 in sick bay, 3 ordered to light duty.
What happened?
Well, last night was liquor ration.
Oh.
Survey teams out in the field. Bio crew under Major Hall. Agronomy, ecological, geological, and deep map teams out.
Any reports back?
Deep Map seems to think there's petroleum over to the north, and agronomy reports if you dropped a seed in this soil, you'd have to jump back to keep from being knocked over by the plant.
Sounds pretty good.
Commander, Blue is about as likely a spot for colonization as has been turned up since Harvey's planted in 27.
Well, they'll be glad to hear that in Central. How long do you think until we can send back a clearance?
I've checked with department chiefs. They all estimate about 2 or 3 days more until they're satisfied. All except bio.
Why is Major Hall dragging his feet?
I don't know.
Well, find out. And in the meantime, I'm going to call a staff meeting. Every day we can save on our report is important. If blue is suitable for colonization, I don't want to waste a minute.
By planetfall plus 3 weeks, all departments had reported favorably except biology. Ecological survey pointed out the difficulty involved in the necessity of importing animal life. But this problem had already been met in the colonization of Gamma 2 and 3, when an entire ecology had been transported in frozen gene banks and fertilized and incubated on the site. Biology, however, still withheld a favorable report.
Look, Larry.
What is the secret, Stella? Cold formality on the bridge and Larry when you're in my lab?
Well, I'm serious. Well, I've just gotten an official query from Central. They want to fish or cut bait on blue. Your department is the only one holding it up. We're 2 weeks behind schedule.
And the first colony on Vishnu was right on schedule, and 7,000 died of green spot.
That was before the full bio-check technique was worked out.
My dear, do you know how many different microorganisms there are in a cup full of dirt?
I'm not a freshman student of biology.
Oh, dear. And I was hoping I could tempt you into some field work.
Someday, Larry, you're going to make some remark in front of some junior officers or even enlisted personnel, and I'm going to have to call you on it.
Afraid for your dignity, my dear?
Look, I'm in charge of this expedition. My dignity happens to be a function of command, and as such, it's a survival factor.
Ah, well, then you had better take it easy at officers' mess. You know, I saw 2 biomates watching you, climbing the ladder to the bridge. Do you know what their affectionate name for you is?
Major Hall. I'm serious. I want a bio clearance as soon as possible.
And you will get it. As soon as possible.
And when will that be?
When I'm satisfied.
Are the bugs here so dangerous that you're afraid of them?
No, on the contrary. We have yet to find a harmful life form.
Well, you didn't report that. If there are no harmful life forms...
No lice. No disease germs. No malignant virus.
Well, then what are you waiting for?
There should be. There should be at least one little fellow who could give you a common cold.
Look, sociology section found no native narcotic plant life. And inasmuch as there is no humanoid life, there is no bootlegging, gambling, immorality, and pornography either. By analogy, that would be a good reason not to colonize. Is that the idiotic logic you're following?
Microbiology is a little different, Stella. And anyway, what is the rush? Blue is something different. There's something peaceful in the air. Why rush to bring picnickers who drop candy wrappers and fill the pools up with empty beer cans?
Larry, I have a planned board conference in 10 minutes. If you don't bring in some kind of a report by then, I'll have to supersede you under a Section 23.
Ah, yes, that's what happened on Vishnu, isn't it? Followed by Green Spot and the wagons to drag the corpses out of the colony streets.
Never mind that, Major. I want a report.
In the biology section lab, Major Lawrence Hall continued to examine tissue samples from lower fauna and flora samples brought in from Planet Blue. He settled a container of prepared slides and flipped the switch on the electron microscope. Major Hall slid the first slide on the stage of the microscope and adjusted the focus knob.
Come on. Huh, there you are. All right, come on, kid, eat something.
The microorganisms, a form of rotifer, displayed none of the characteristics of ferocity and aggression which were normal on several dozen other planets. Presently, however, Major Hall stopped whistling. Inasmuch as the 2 eyepieces of his microscope twisted suddenly around his windpipe and started to strangle him.
Ooh.
Hall tore at them, but they dug relentlessly into his throat, steel prongs closing like the claws of a trap. With a convulsive effort, he managed to break free and fling the microscope from him.
Oh, that's crazy. It's going to let go of my leg.
He kicked the microscope loose and drew his blaster. As the microscope scuttled away, rolling on its coarse adjustment knobs, he fired. The microscope disappeared in a cloud of metallic particles. The plans board of the research team was assembled in the officers' library. Commander Stella Morrison was outlining plans on a detailed aerial survey map.
This long, flat area is ideal for the actual city. It has an adequate watershed in the hills here, and weather conditions vary sufficiently to give the settlers something to talk about. There are large deposits of various minerals. The colonists can set up their own factories. They won't have to do any importing. Over here is the biggest forest on the planet. If they have any sense, they'll leave it, but if they want to make newspapers out of it, that's not our concern. Now, all reports are in except bio, and I think that before long we'll be getting...
Stella!
Major Hall, may I remind you that when the consul is in session, no one is permitted to interrupt...
You come to my lab. Look, Hall, if you're not feeling well, you look a little sick.
Yes, well, I should be. My microscope just tried to strangle me.
Oh? Oh, I see.
They almost got me, but I blasted it. But that's not the worst.
It isn't?
No. The microscope is still there. After I blasted it, I found it under the lab bench, untouched.
Look, Major, you sure you don't need a psych test?
Well, I don't know. I suppose it does sound a little...
You look post-trauma to me.
Huh? Oh. Well, you're right. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Commander.
Put Major Hall on psycho report. I think we'll have to proceed to order colonization here without him.
Major Hall proceeded to Psych Center, and inserting his ID card in the robot Neo Rorschach machine, he placed his hands on the contacts and activated the search and Gestalt circuits. Presently, the green light flashed, indicating tentative diagnosis. Major Hall hit the response key.
Severe disturbance. Instability ratio above 10.
And that's over danger, isn't it?
Yes. 8 is danger. 10 is unusual, especially for a person of your index. Your norm is 4.
Yeah, I know.
I require more data to determine whether this unusual instability ratio is an aberrant reaction or is normal survival oriented.
Well, I can't tell you anymore.
It is illegal to hold back information during a robo-psych test. You will deliberately distort diagnosis, which is punishable by 6 months forfeiture of pay and allowances, or such other penalty as a court-martial may direct.
Thanks a heap. Look, do you record a high degree of unbalance for me?
There is a high degree of psychic disorganization, but what it signifies, or its etiology, I am unable to determine without further data.
Okay. Well, just take a tip from me. Stay away from homicidal microscopes.
That is an interesting Freudian slip. You undoubtedly mean homicidal maniacs, not microscopes. This indicates a possible maladjustment in the area of your specialty.
Why don't you go grease your id?
I will consider that suggestion.
Major Hall returned to the biosection lab and tested the atmosphere near the place where he had fired his blast gun at the microscope. The analysis showed a high density of metallic particles colloidally suspended in the air. In a state of confusion, with an emotional distress quotient of at least .742, he stripped off his uniform and entered the shower.
Oh, well, you can't expect anybody to believe a story like that. I must be off my rocker.
Major Hall stepped out of the shower, reached for one of the towels on the rack. The towel wrapped around his head and yanked him against the wall. Rough cloth pressed over his mouth and nose. He fought wildly, pulling away. All at once, the towel let go. Major Hall crawled out of the shower and proceeded to dress. His belt, heavy canvas with reinforced metal links, tried to get him around the waist and crush him. The belt, being a heavy-duty issue, was strong, and they rolled on the floor until Hall was able to reach his blaster. He threw himself down in a chair to regain his breath. The arms of the chair started to close around him, but this time he was ready.
Major, I don't believe you were announced.
Look, Commander. Stella.
You're armed. You know the regulations
I'm sorry, Stella. This is important.
Well, what do you want? I have a report here from the robo-psych tester. It says you've hit a ratio of 10 within the last 24-hour period. We've known each other for a long time. Larry, what's happening to
Stella,
you?
I told you. A little while ago, my microscope tried to strangle me. Then when I was getting out of the shower, a bath towel tried to smother me. I got by that. And while I was dressing, my belt.
Wood, in here on the double.
And I finally blasted that. And then an armchair besides.
Yes, Commander.
Stand by a moment.
Stella, will you listen to me? This is serious. Ordinary objects suddenly turning lethal. Maybe this is what we've been looking for. Maybe this is...
Your microscope tried to kill you?
I told you, its stems got me here around the windpipe.
No one else saw this happen?
No. I blasted it, and then I found it again, perfectly all right.
I see. Wood.
Yes, ma'am.
Get 2 guards and take Major Hall down to Captain Taylor in sick bay. Have him confined until he can be sent back to Terra for examination.
Listen, Stella...
Sorry, Major. You can't prove this story, and we'll just have to assume it's a psychotic projection on your part. And we can't afford to have any psychotics running around loose on this planet. Wood, carry on.
You'll be all right, Hall. Back on Earth, they can clear a thing like this up in a few weeks.
Yeah, maybe you're right, Wood. Maybe I'm just out of my mind.
Here we are. Captain Taylor. Captain Taylor. He should be in. Captain. The hatch isn't locked. Taylor, what's the matter?
That scatter rug is shortened. Take it in and pull. But quick before he's crushed. Grab that rug.
Now hear this. General alarm. General alarm. Emergency stations. Emergency stations. Condition red. Sidearms will be issued to all personnel. General alarm.
Captain Taylor tells me the rug came from Terra. His grandmother braided it.
That's what I was trying to tell you. It was not the rug that attacked them.
Then what was it?
Something that looked like this rug. And it was something that looked like a microscope that went for me. And the towel and the belt.
You mean there's some life form that can imitate anything?
Yes, it seems so. And it's deadly.
Hey, Charlie, general alarm. Get up out of that sack. Hey, what'd you do with my gloves? Oh. Hey, where'd I get 2 pair? Well, meeny, miny. Mo. 1 pair of gloves is the same as the other. Hey, these gloves are moving. How do you like that? These fool gloves are going for my blast pistol. Charlie, is this one of your crazy electronic gags? Did you rig my gloves? Hey, look out for that pistol! Look out! Commander, there's another casualty. Lieutenant Dodds.
What happened?
I don't know. He seems to have shot himself.
Oh, no.
Stella, I think that I have something.
Dodds is dead.
Look, we know that this thing can camouflage itself. It can imitate any object it leans up against. All right, now, listen to this.
Larry, we've got
This is the answer. It's a tape from Captain Galt. He was out on bio-survey. He had a float mic on. He was talking to the operator at base. Now, listen to this.
Head for home now. What's this emergency about? Hourglass Stella having hysterics? That's funny. Could swear I parked my bucket over by those trees. Well, it's here anyway. Heat up some coffee for me. I'll be in a couple. Yeah, that's funny. There's another bucket over by the trees. Where'd this one come from? Let me out. The thing's stuck. It's folding up around me. Joe, get a squad out here. Joe. Acid. I can't get out. It's digestive fluid. Get somebody out here before.
His transmission just stopped. All right, now we're up against some organic form of life, and there should be some way to destroy it. We've already blasted a few, but we don't know how many more there are. Maybe it's an infinitely divisible substance, some kind of protoplasm.
We've had over 12 casualties reported, and there's still 5 teams out in the field.
All right, it's a lethal life form. Now, that explains why we found everything else harmless. Nothing could compete with this. We have mimic plants of our own, the twisty slug on Venus, but nothing that goes this far.
It can be killed, though. You said that yourself.
If it can be found. You can't tell. Clothes, rugs, drapes, chairs. We can't tell which is which. We've got to try to find some poison, some spray that will destroy them wholesale.
Oh, no.
What's the matter?
In the corner. I never noticed 2 briefcases over there before. There was only one, I think. How are we going to know?
Shortly after the final casualty report of 30 dead and 12 wounded, Major Hall sealed off the bio quarters and moved in with a team from Chem Section, all dressed in corrosive-resistant suits.
Well, I'll make sure that you've got a tight seal on the neck joint.
What are you going to do, Major?
I've got a combination of hydrogen and arsenic under pressure, arsine gas. That'll give us an idea of how much they've infiltrated. Arsine is deadly to humans, so check your helmets. Now, Sergeant, I don't want any panic blasting. Arsine is inflammable. All right. Release the valve.
As the gas filled the room, the first to go was a filing cabinet, which melted and oozed to the floor, followed by pipettes, Bunsen burners, bell jars, and test tubes. The lab was sealed off and a meeting held in Commander Morrison's quarters.
Well, it's protoplasm, all right. You could see that when the mimic shape melted. It was a cell nucleus as big as your hand. They resembled the simple unicellular protozoa. Of course, gigantic in size compared to microorganisms.
Can we spray them?
Arsine disturbed them. And I suppose enough might kill them. But we haven't got that much. We can't flood the planet. We wouldn't be able to use our blasters, and it's lethal to humans.
We'll have to pull out.
Stella, I'm afraid you don't quite understand. We can't take the chance of carrying them back to the system disguised as a boot or a towel or anything. And they seem to multiply by binary fission. It wouldn't take long to overrun Earth and the rest of the system.
If we stay here, they'll pick us off one by one.
We could have arsine brought in or some other poison, but that would destroy most of the other life on the planet along with it.
Then we'll have to burn the planet clean. Wood?
Yes, ma'am.
Set up a call to System Monitor. I'm going to get the unit off here out of danger. After that, we can work out the best way of cleaning off this planet.
You'll run the risk of taking them back to Terra.
Can they imitate higher life forms? Can they masquerade as humans?
Apparently not. They seem to be limited to inorganic subjects.
Then we'll go back without any inorganic material.
But our clothes, they can imitate the synthetic fibers, belts, gloves, boots.
We're not taking our clothes. We're going back without anything at all.
Oh, I see.
Get me a beam to Central Monitor immediately.
The nearest cruiser was 2 light hours away, Captain Daniel Davis commanding. Tight beam communication was established after coordinates were flashed from Central Monitor.
This is Captain Davis. Can you read me?
I read you. Commander Morrison here. Captain, you are to make a planetfall as soon as possible at coordinates to be supplied you. We are going to board your ship naked.
Naked?
That's right.
That's, well...
When will you land?
At about 1,500 hours, I'd say.
Captain, would it be possible for your men to...
I'll have my crew below decks. We'll land on robot control.
Thank you. Wood, sign off the transmission.
Yes, ma'am.
There was some objection among the enlisted personnel, particularly in the women's quarters. The ship landed at 1,200 hours, 3 hours sooner than expected.
All hands disrobe immediately. All personnel report to field, ready to embark.
So soon? I didn't hear the ship land.
It's there, all right. We'd better go. Larry.
Mm-hmm.
Larry, you go ahead. I'd rather get ready alone.
Parked in the center of the landing field was a cruiser, its hull pitted and dented by meteor strikes. It lay motionless, with no sign of life aboard. A crowd of naked people was moving across the field, blinking in the bright sunlight. Commander Stella Morrison, without any sign of rank apparent, paused on the ramp and spoke to Major Lawrence Hall beside her.
Larry,
Yeah? What is it?
I'm scared.
Why?
I don't know.
Psychological reaction. Forget it. It's a reaction to nudity carried over from early childhood. Come on, we're holding up the line.
Larry, I want to go back.
Stella, look. Now, at least Davis kept his promise. There are no enlisted men lining the hatches to enjoy the view. You see? It's dark in there. There's nothing to worry about. Come on. Up you go.
The last of the research team filed into the interior of the ship, and the hatch closed behind them. At exactly 1500 hours, Captain Daniel Davis landed his ship in the center of the field. Automatic relays opened the main lock hatch and lowered the ramp. Davis and his staff sat in the control cabin waiting.
Well, how do you like that? Where are they? Well, maybe the whole fool thing is a joke. We've waited an hour already.
They waited. And waited. But no one came.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, which this month features Double Dare by Robert Silverberg, which demonstrates that pride can lead to much worse than a fall. It can put a man out on a limb and keep him there. Galaxy Magazine, on your newsstand today. Tonight, by transcription, X-1 has brought you Colony, a story from the pages of Galaxy written by Philip K. Dick and adapted for radio by Ernest Kenoy. Featured in the cast were Frederica Chandler, John Larkin, James Stevens, Larry Robinson, Bill Quinn, and Alan Bergman. Your narrator was Norman Rose. Your announcer, Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by Daniel Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production. Hear music in the Morgan manner. Russ Morgan, live weekday mornings on NBC Bandstand. Countdown for blast off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million, could be years, on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, presents X-1. Tonight's story, Soldier Boy, by Michael Shera.
There is a Scandinavian legend. In the Northland deep, in a great cave by an ever-burning fire, the warrior sleeps. For this is the resting time, the time of peace, and so shall it be for 1,000 years. And yet we shall summon him again, my children, when we are sore in need. And out of the north he will come, and again, each time we call, out of the dark and the cold, with the fire in his hands, he will come.
I was off duty when the call came to report. I was off duty and out of uniform. As a matter of fact, I was in a bar, drunk. Bossio had just spilled a beer over me. I cussed him out, and when I looked up, there was a shore patrol standing over me.
Captain Dillon?
Well, where did they find you, Buster? Did you flunk out of high school or get into a fight with your father and run away from home?
Captain Dillon, I have a message for you.
Well. Look, Bossio, this is humanity's finest. He has joined the service to protect home and hearth against the savage aliens.
Touching, Dillon, touching.
Are you Lieutenant Bossio? I have a message for you, too.
Have a drink, kid.
No, thank you, sir.
Well, listen to that, sir, Bossio. This kid has got morale.
It's a fact, Dillon. He's crawling with it.
Sure, I haven't heard morale like that since the Second Martian Revolt in 23. Boy, don't you know that the armed service is a scrap heap?
Do not use the best iron to make nails or the best men to make soldiers. Old Chinese proverb.
I didn't raise my boy to be a soldier. Ancient folk song.
Please, Captain, Lieutenant, I'm just doing what they told me to. I'm supposed to tell you to report to division headquarters.
Uh-huh. And they told you to try every bar on the strip and you'd be sure to run into us, huh?
Yes, sir. Those were Colonel Swift's orders.
A good commander. He knows the whereabouts of his troops. All right, Bossio, drink up. Let's go. Duty calls. The garrison town was wide open. The street was lined with saloons, gambling houses, and whatever. They cleaned up this sort of thing on Earth and every colony in the solar system and beyond, but they let them stay near the Army bases, mostly because they knew there'd been 500 years of peace, and the men that sifted down into the Army were not quite the best adjusted of human beings. The drinkers, the gamblers, the men who were destructive in 100 different quietly degrading ways wore the uniform of the Defense Command. The uniform that was usually creased and just a little dirty. I know because I'm a veteran of 20 years of it. Not a veteran of any wars nor any fighting except in some saloon on payday, but a survivor of garrison life of chasing smugglers and rally catching them. The colonel was fat and sweaty, and as a gesture to military discipline, he chased a frowsy blonde out of the office before he spoke to us.
Sit down, Dillon. Have you ever heard of Lupus 5?
No.
It's out on the rim on a 360 vertical sector. They were wiped out a year ago.
Disease?
Aliens. A mail ship found it. By the time they called the Army in, almost 6 months had gone by. There were 70 colonists. 31 were dead. The rest were missing. All the technical equipment, all radios, guns, machines, even books were gone. The rest of the place was burned over. Only one of the men found something in the ash. As you know, every colony is equipped with a detonator in the main building. And a cobalt bomb buried right in the middle because it's a lot more important to blow a whole village than let some hostile alien learn vital technical facts about human technology and body chemistry.
Well, why didn't the bomb blow at Lupus 5?
Because the wire was cut. At the heart of the camp, under 12 inches of earth, somebody dug it up and cut it.
Who?
I don't know. Dillon, we're pulling back, evacuating the rim colonies. There's nothing else to do.
No defense possible?
After 500 years of peace? Look at you, Dillon. Look at me. And the rest of the Army is about the same. We're pulling out.
They're not going to like that out at the rim colonies.
If they don't like it, they can wait and be burned by the aliens. We can't protect them. You'll report to the 38th sector. You'll have 10 planets on your route to warn and evacuate. Try and stay sober.
Yeah, I'll try.
That's all. Get out of here. And send Kitty back in on your way out.
We We'd cleaned up 3 planets, delivered the dispatches from headquarters, and tried to find out if they had anything worth drinking in the colonies. Usually they didn't. And we were stuck with something at Basio made out of high-thrust fuel with a little lemon juice and oil of wintergreen for flavoring. We headed out for number 4.
Hey, Dillon. You want another belt?
No, not now. I got to feed orbits into this fool computer. Light up. Come on. There she goes.
You know, it's funny.
What?
Life.
You're a 90-proof philosopher, Basio.
Nah. Look, we come down on a planet. Nobody talks to us. We can stand out in the landing field in snow or sand or whatever they got on their miserable planet. Nobody wants us.
Well, look at you. Can you blame them?
No, you don't get it. What are we here for? To save them. To shove a firecracker under their tails and get them out while there's still time. What do they call us? Soldier boy. Drunken bum. Now, what do they do that for?
3 guesses.
Yeah, like on that last one. They almost mobbed us. Every time we walked out in the street, they looked at us as if these uniforms are some kind of an insult.
Well, look up your history, Basio. There's been too much misery tied up with soldier suits of some kind. It's practically a racial memory.
Baloney. They got no call to treat us like we were criminals. They would have shot me down if you hadn't taken off so quick.
Yeah, look, Basio. If somebody comes and tells you got to get off the planet that's been home for 20 years and then wrecks their best restaurant in a brawl, what do you expect? A medal?
I guess you're right. Hey, that was some scrap.
Yeah.
I didn't like the way that stuck-up head waiter called me soldier boy. I'll do it all over again.
I know you would. On the next planet, do your drinking on the ship. It's safer all around.
Oh, they still got no right to be so stuck up. After all, somebody's got to be in the Army.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, that's the last orbit. Pass me the bottle. The 4th planet was Norge 1, a big green world about 20% cooler than Earth temperate. They'd heard about the evacuation, and when we sent the scout down on the landing field, there was a crowd gathered. When I opened the hatch, I could smell a wet, heavy breeze that meant snow. It was below freezing, and Army-issue cold weather gear wasn't worth much. I waited out at the edge of the field for 15 minutes, waiting for somebody to take notice of a ship of the United Earth Defense Command. I just stood there in the cold wind with a pint to keep me warm. Finally, somebody came out to talk to me.
What do you want?
I'm Captain Dillon. I have a message from Fleet Headquarters. You in charge here?
Nobody's in charge here. If you want a spokesman, I guess I'll do. What is it?
Well, I got a dispatch for you from Headquarters.
I'll look at it later.
Is it always this cold?
This time of year.
Freeze a brass monkey. Drink?
No, thank you.
Mind if I do?
No, if you have to.
I don't suppose you got any decent liquor on this planet.
No, we don't have any.
Yeah, I forgot. All right, let's get going. We haven't got much time. They had a meeting at the main warehouse. Russell read the dispatch and the order for evacuation. It took them a long time to understand. They took it pretty well, but then these were pioneers. Pioneers. Before you settle a planet, you boil it and bake it and purge it of possible diseases. Then you step down gingerly and inflate your plastic houses which harden and then become warm and impregnable. You send your machines out to plant and harvest and set up automatic factories to transmute dirt into coffee, and without having lifted a finger, you've braved the wilderness, hewed a home out of living rock, and you're a pioneer. Of course, they were angry, and as usual, they'd take it out on me.
Now, look here, soldier. This is our planet. This is our home. We demand some protection from the fleet. I've been paying taxes for all of you all these years, and it's about time you earned your keep.
Maybe, Mr. Russell, maybe, but there is no fleet. Oh, there are a few hundred half-shot old tubs that were obsolete before you were born, and there are 4 or 5 new jobs for the brass and the government, but that's all the fleet there is. Now, look, it's 10:30 now, and those aliens might be coming in at any time for all we know, so we'd better get going. Lieutenant Basio has gone on to the sister colony at Planet 2 of this system. He'll return to pick me up by nightfall. And I've been instructed to have you gone by then. I wanted to remind them that nobody wanted the Army, that the fleet had grown smaller and smaller, but there wasn't any point to it now. I realized long ago that they were right in a way. I was a big, fat anachronism, a fossil, a hangover from the Dark Ages. Only, unfortunately, we'd run right into a new Dark Ages that came from somewhere out in the stars and picked off colonies and burned them to a cinder. Well, when they finally left the meeting, I went out to check the bomb. The detonator was in the radio shack. It was a long metal bar with a lock on it. I followed the conduit down the wall till it entered the ground. Then I started to chop at the frozen earth to follow the wire.
Captain Dillon.
Yeah?
How many people can your ship take?
Well, she sleeps 2, won't take off with more than 10. Why?
We're overloaded. There are 60 of us, and our ship won't take over 40. We came out in groups, so we never thought.
You sure?
She's only a little ship. She's all we could afford.
Well, it looks as if somebody's going to find out firsthand what those aliens look like.
It's not very funny.
All right. Maybe the colony on 2 has room. I'll call Basio and ask.
Aren't there any fleet ships within radio distance?
Look, the fleet is spread out kind of thin nowadays. Yeah. Here it is.
What's that?
That's your wire from the detonator to the bomb. Somebody dug it up, cut it, and then buried it again and packed it down again real nice.
Fool.
Who?
Well, one of us, of course. I knew nobody ever liked sitting on a live bomb like this, but I never
You mean one of your people?
Isn't that obvious?
Why?
Well, they probably thought it was too dangerous, like most government rules. Maybe one of the kids.
No. There was a bomb wire cut on Lupus 5 just before the alien attack.
Maybe an animal?
No, no animal did that. Some coincidence, huh? The wire at Lupus 5 was cut just about before an alien attack. Now, this one was cut, too, newly cut. So something knew enough about this camp to know that a bomb was buried here and also to know why it was. Something didn't want the camp destroyed, so it came into the middle, traced the wire, dug it up, and cut it, and then walked right out again.
What'll we do?
Pass out your guns. Try not to scare them. I'll be with you as soon as I splice this wire. I spliced the wire and went back into the radio shack and pulled out my pistol. I checked it and primed it and tried to remember the last time I'd fired it. The snow began falling near noon. By 1 o'clock, the visibility was down to 0. I tried to contact Basio to tell him to hurry. He didn't answer. I figured he was probably drunk or sleeping it off. I suppose I should have been out organizing some kind of defense, inspiring everybody with grim, lantern-jawed courage. But as a matter of fact, my jaw is somewhat slack, and I'm not strong on courage. So I took a belt from the bottle and considered things. The tension was beginning to get me. After 20 years of hanging around and playing like the town drunk, a man can't be expected to rush out and plug the breach just like that. You have to work up to these things gradually. I suppose there was something to me originally, but I lost it. I lost it in 20 years of idiotic garrison spit and polish in saloons and the icy looks and choice words that civilians save for peacetime soldiers. I had half the bottle killed when Rosso came back to see me.
Captain, I just can't make any sense of this. Who cut that wire?
Well, as far as I can figure, an alien cut it.
No, there haven't been any aliens or any peculiar animals near this camp. We've got planet-wide radar, and there have been no unidentified ships since the first landing a year ago. One of us must have done it. It's the only possible explanation.
You mean a traitor?
Or a dupe. Maybe the aliens can exert some kind of telepathic control.
I can't see it. If they're able to control one, why not all and save half the bother? Now, look, is there any animal that ever comes near here that's as large as a dog?
Well, there's a beagle. It's like a monkey with 4 legs. We shoot them now and then when they get into the crops. We're going to post sentries. Do you want to place them?
Well, you know this site better than I do. Post them in a ring within calling distance, huh?
Dillon, what are they like, the aliens? Do you know?
No, I don't think anybody does. We don't know what they look like, or what they think like, or where they come from.
Do you think they've landed yet?
Don't know. With this snow coming down, they could be out there in the woods right now, and we'd never know.
Planet Director 7396 recording progress report on attack day. Physical situation excellent. Headquarters bunker 10 feet underground. Electrical heating apparatus running smoothly. View screens operating. Human colonists' activity not according to pattern. 8 humans have taken up watch positions on the perimeter of the colony. Original plan was for attack at night, but presence of Earth vessel dictates change in plans. The humans move quickly. They might be gone by nightfall. It would be necessary to disable their ship, proceeding on this alternate plan.
At noon, Rossel reported that Planet 2 didn't answer his call. Basio might be drunk, but the colony on 2 wouldn't be. If there was no answer, it was because they were dead. The people were quiet and frightened. Some of the women were beginning to cry. They brought me coffee now. It had begun to dawn on the women that they might be leaving without their husbands or sons. They had their ships stripped down and they were loading. The ones that were going stood outside and stripped off their clothes. Cold weather gear of 40 people weighed enough to get a few more on board. In the end, the ship took 46 people. When they were all loaded and they cleared the landing field and the hatches closed. You could hear the generators surge for a lift. But then there was a sharp burning smell and she never got off the ground.
Dylan.
Over here under the tree. What happened?
The lining's burned out. She's being repaired.
How long will it take to fix?
4 or 5 hours.
It'll be dark by then. It seems like they want to wait till the dark.
Probably aren't many of them.
Might mean that, or maybe they see better at night, or maybe they move slow. You got any idea how they got to the ship?
No.
You know, I've been in the Army 20 years. This is the first time I was ever in a fight. I never shot at anybody. I always figured I'd be afraid. But there doesn't seem to be any sense in being afraid. There's nothing to do but wait until night comes. I sat there thinking of Basio. He was dead. There wasn't much doubt of that. Probably died dead drunk and not giving a solitary hoot. I stared out into the snow and thought the same thought over and over. Basio was dead. Basio was dead. In all this dog-eared, ape-run universe, he was about the only friend I had, and so naturally he was dead. Dead because he tried to come out here to help these people. People who cursed him and called him a drunk, which he was, and a brawler, which he was when somebody crossed him. But he was the one who came to help. And in short time, I'd be staying behind so that some colonist could jam himself aboard my ship and lift out to safety. And I'd die to save somebody I didn't even know. Somebody who 24 hours before would be ashamed to be found in my company. They come to an army for help too late. An army like me, sodden and not knowing whether they can fight or not.
Dylan.
What?
Over there at the edge of the woods. Something moving.
You can see it through the snow.
Look out. How far do you make it to that tree?
About 50 yards.
50 yards.
There it is, you see, by the bush.
50 yards, no wind, half charge. I have a feeling I'm forgetting something. Well, here goes.
You got it!
Get down. Maybe more of them. Wait and see.
I saw it clear when it jumped. It was one of those monkeys.
Maybe. We'll see. I waited 10 minutes and then I ran over. Whatever it was gone, almost all of it. My bolt had taken a paw and taken it clean off. I picked it up, but there was no blood. The skin was real and furry, all right, but the bone was steel and the muscles were springs. It wasn't any four-legged monkey. It was a robot.
Planet Director 7396 recording progress report on attack day. Due to component tube failure, small robot unit out of control. Wandered towards settlement. Took calculated risk with poor seeing due to snow that humans would overlook it and still think of it as an animal, even firing with ports open. But a part of the robot is missing and the humans have found it. There will be no chance to disable the smaller ship now. In order to carry out total destruction, the settlement will have to be detonated. The settlement will have to be bombed from previously planted locations. I will have to leave control bunker for a more distant position as soon as protective armor is put on. I will proceed to carry out this plan. I realize this is not the ideal operation. It is more disciplined to capture humans and their equipment undamaged, but total destruction is necessary. For further operations, recommend duplication of essential controls on robots. The procedure of planting them on worlds before colonization by humans in the shape of local animals demands perfect operation when attack day arrives, or the resident director planted at the same time on each world will be unable to carry through attack plans. Now leaving bunker.
That's how they got the ship, all right. Probably slipped a Vigil through the aft port and left it in there to foul the lining. Wonder what else they've got.
Probably all kinds of things. Must have been some kind of lizard that went under and cut the wire.
A Spicer lizard. They can burrow underground. And we've got a bat that could do aerial reconnaissance for them.
Well, they know everything about you, and we don't know anything about them. They're probably sitting out there right now, swarming behind those trees, waiting for it to get nice and dark. All right, you better get back to the others and tell them I'll stay here.
Why?
Because we only need one. If we could just get one back to a lab, we'd have some clue to what they are. We can't just cut and run. We've got to make a stand.
I didn't think the Army made stands. I thought they just pulled out.
Yeah, I suppose so. An Army does what it has to, and ours is weak and filled with men like me. But even so, there comes a time when you have to make a stand. I stayed out there in the snow. I wasn't thinking very calmly. It was too cold. But it was probably just as well. I put in about 10 minutes being afraid of whatever it was that was behind those trees. What I needed was luck. Just good, plain old luck. I didn't know where they were or how many there were or what kind, so I needed luck. I started to inch forward in the snow. There was nothing but quiet in the trees. I got past the first trunk. My elbow hit a rock, and it hurt. My feet were cold. And then I heard a noise. The thing was moving down the left side of a gorge up ahead. I got up on my knees. I blew on my fingers and threw the charge level on my pistol over to full. It was a great black lump on a platform. The platform had legs and was plodding up a path that came right past me. It hadn't seen me yet, but it would. There were 5 of those little monkeys skipping on before it, acting as eyes. Then one of them spotted me and started running. My first shot took the monkey in the head, and then I aimed for the lump on the platform. They got one blast off before I hit anything vital. It burned across my shoulder. My shirt charred. Felt as if I'd been hit in the arm with an axe. Nothing else moved. The monkeys were stiff like statues, and the platform was on its side. Through a hole in the black lump, something gray and soft was oozing out. I looked around and saw the robots frozen, and I realized I'd got them. I'd hit the guide, the alien who was directing the robots. I kicked at it with my foot. It was too big and heavy to carry. I'd have to send someone back for it. But I wanted to take something, so I grabbed one of the monkeys by a stiff, jutting arm and began to drag it back to the village. We put the alien in a freeze tank and shipped it back to Earth. They learned a lot in the lab, but out there in the colony, we learned a lot more. We learned that man wasn't born to live out his days at home by the fire. In the wee black corner of space which man had taken for his own, other men were learning. And the snow fell in the planet's world, and when it was spring, where I had fought, men were already leaping back out to the stars.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, which this month features The Native Problem by Robert Sheckley, in which a misfit discovers that there is not plenty of room in space for his kind, that in fact there is less room in space for him than anywhere else. Galaxy Magazine, on your newsstand today. Tonight, by transcription, X-1 has brought you Soldier Boy, a story from the pages of Galaxy written by Michael Scherer and adapted for radio by Ernest Kenoy. Featured in the cast were Larry Haynes as Dillon, Ralph Bell as Bossio, Alan Hewitt as Russell, Bob Hastings as the shore patrolman, Wendell Holmes as the colonel, and Kermit Murdoch as the alien. Your narrator was Floyd Mack. This is Fred Collins speaking. X-1 was directed by Daniel Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production.
One of the best, one of the most popular programs on radio. That's You Bet Your Life with Groucho Marx. And here's a reminder. Now Groucho can be heard on Saturdays, and he's on at a time when every member of the family, from Junior to Grandpa, can join in the laughter that goes with each question and answer session. A new day, a new hour, but the very same fun and good times that have made Groucho and You Bet Your Life so popular throughout the years. Have you ever met a hamburger king or an earthworm farmer or a famous beauty contest winner? Well, these are some of those who have appeared as Groucho's guests. Who will be his guests tomorrow? Well, that's a secret, but you can bet your life they'll be full of fun and surprises. Have you ever heard Groucho sing his classic Captain Spaulding or throw a romantic line at a pretty girl? Well, listen in and you'll find out. Hear music in the Morgan manner. Russ Morgan, live, weekday mornings on NBC Bandstand.
At last, the Gregory rescue boat has arrived at the Magic Island. Towed in by a Euclidean submarine, Johnston's boat has been left to shift for itself just outside the Pier 5 lock and is now being taken alongside Mrs. Gregory's yacht, noiselessly pulled through the water by the underwater magnets. Jerry and Joan are in the submarine which brought Johnston's boat in and are eagerly awaiting the chance to return to the yacht as soon as the submarine is safely in its underwater lock. On the deck of Mrs. Gregory's yacht, Captain Bradford, the skipper, and Mrs. Gregory stand ready to take a line from Johnston's boat and make it fast to the yacht.
Now, you just stand over there by the port rail, Pat. Keep your eye on the island for old G-47. He'll come running over here to grab Johnson the minute we get his boat tied up. I'd like a few words with Johnson before that happens, if I can manage it.
I'll watch the island, Tex. I can see the whole pier from here. But I don't want to be too far off to meet Johnson when he steps over the rail. It's my boat, you know, dear, and Johnson's been pretty wonderful through all of this.
Yes, you're right, Pat. I'll stand here if you like, but keep a sharp eye along the pier.
I'll warn you if G-47 comes along.
Skipper. Aye. You'd better come here with me and take Johnston's stern line. Hanson can handle that bow alone, but the wreckage of that mast left nothing here to make fast to. So we'll have to strong-arm the line here.
Aye.
We'll take your stern line here, Johnson.
Look lively. Here it comes, then.
Tex, that's McLeod. What will G-47 say about this?
He doesn't know Johnson. If we have to, we'll introduce G-47 to McLeod and tell him Mac is Johnson. Here, Skipper.
Aye.
I'll take a turn of this line here. You run the slack out of it and bend the end around something back there. Boat's making very little way. We'll lash her easy enough.
Hurry, Tex. Get Mac aboard here and talk to him quietly. G-47 is coming along the pier now.
Right, Pat. Make it fast here, fore and out. Snub those lines tight. Come aboard, Johnson, over the rail and snap it up.
I'll be with you this minute, Captain Bradford. My compliments, Mrs. Gregory, and your health.
Thanks, McLeod. Now, we've got to give you some quick orders. I'll go meet G-47 and talk to him as long as I can before he gets here. Hurry, Tex. You'll only have a minute.
Now listen, Mac. This may sound crazy to you, but I'll explain later. You're Johnson. Get it, Mac? You're Johnson.
Oh, that's what Johnson told me. Very good, then. I'm Johnson.
Good boy, Mac. And the reason you're Johnson is because you've got to meet a man right now. He's coming with Mrs. Gregory, and you've got to make him believe you're Johnson. Our lives depend on it. I'll explain it all later.
Well, what about my accent? I've been told I've got a bit of the healing on the tongue.
Well, have a sore throat. Anything. This man has heard Johnson's voice over the radio dozens of times. Now, don't talk much.
Right around behind this cabin, G47. Captain Bradford is talking to Mr. Johnson.
I've got it, Mac. Listen. The oil fumes from the leaking tanks. Your throat. Hoarse.
I got you. I'll give you a full report later, Captain, when I get these oil fumes out of my throat.
There they are, G47. Oh, Tex.
Yes? Oh, yes, Pat. I was just telling Johnson we'd better put him to bed for a while and look after that throat. G47, let me present Mr. Johnson, skipper of this boat.
You have been expected, Mr. Johnson.
How do you do?
Your throat is bad.
Oil fumes got him when he was fighting those leaky fuel tanks on his boat.
He need not speak. It is action I desire. That message, Mr. Johnson?
What message?
You know quite well. The message, Mr. Johnson.
I don't understand.
Oh, come on, Johnson. There's no use trying to bluff G47. He knows all about the message I sent with a pigeon and how much it means to us. You might as well give it to him.
No, Tex. Not that. Isn't there something we can do? Don't give it to him, Johnson.
But, Pat, we haven't got a chance anyway.
We'll have less with that message in G47's hands.
You have no chance under any conditions. Will you give me the message, or must I tear your boat apart to find it?
Come on, where is it, Johnson?
I have it here with me.
Well, then give it to him.
No, Tex, I won't
Quiet,
have it.
Pat. Why make things worse? Come on, hand it over to G47. Hurry up, Johnson.
There it is, then.
Johnson, you're choking your throat.
Yes, it may be serious. Well, you've got what you want, G47. Will you leave us alone for a few minutes so we can get this man into a cabin and look after him?
I will gladly leave you alone for the length of time it takes to work out the formula. Once I have it, then what I do will cease to interest you.
Come, Tex. Let's take Johnson into my cabin and see what we can do for his throat.
Your cabin's smashed with that mast. Come on, we'll go in the radio cabin.
That would be better. You're welcome to what is left of my yacht, Johnson.
Thank you, Mrs. Gregory.
Stand by to watch those lines, Skipper. Make sure the crew of Johnson's boat have what they need. I'll turn out and help you look it over pretty soon. All right.
Look, Tex. There goes old G47, laughing to himself and trotting off down the pier.
Yes, he's got what he wants this time. Right in here, Johnson. Now, neither one of you say anything till I have a quick look at this cloth covering in the cabin. Sit over there, Mac. Pat, you sit there.
Yes.
Where you can keep a strict watch out that port hole along the pier.
All right.
Well, cloth seems all tight. I'll sit here where I can look out the other port and see the rail of Johnson's boat. Just in case some smart Euclidean takes a notion to do a little listening. Now, Mac, you can talk. Not too loud. But we're fairly safe in here.
This place must be as mad as Johnson said it was. What's all the cloth around the cabin?
That cloth is made here on this island. Without it, they could look right through the walls and see and hear all we're doing.
This is a fine how do you do. But tell me, you've got the pigeon all right?
Yes, and the message is safe. Tex memorized it and destroyed it.
Yes, and the bird almost got here too soon. The yacht had just come up when he arrived.
Come up? Come up from where?
We were submerged down inside the island.
Submerged? But are you quite well, Mrs. Gregory?
I don't blame you, Mac. You didn't know this yacht was a submarine, did you?
What's it all about, Captain Bradford?
Well, you see, Mac, we were taken into a lock and submerged with the whole island when that fleet of battleships was maneuvering around here. But never mind about us. Tell us how Johnson managed to get away and where his radio signals have been coming from all this time. I'll see who it is. Remember your sore throat.
Yeah.
Come in, Joan. Where's Jerry?
Oh, Mother, dear.
Joan.
Oh, I am so happy to see you again.
And I'm happy to have you, my dear. Where's Jerry?
He was not allowed to come at this time.
What's the matter, Joan? Kid talk himself into trouble?
Oh, I think not, Captain. But G47 took him to the chemical laboratory. There is some important experiment going to be performed.
Yes, I'll say there is.
Yes, dear. G47 thinks he has Texas formula this time.
Yes. I saw your other boat. And, of course, Mr. Johnson is a prisoner. They got the formula from him.
They got what they think is a formula. And they got it from a man they think is Johnson. But it isn't, and he isn't.
I do not just understand that, Captain.
I don't blame you, dear. Tex certainly mixed it up. Oh, I'm sorry, Mac. Mr. McLeod, this is my daughter, Joan.
How do you do?
It's a pleasure, Miss Gregory. And your mother really found you here on this island.
Right, Mac. We've got what we came after. The thing now is how to get away.
Where is Mr. Johnson?
This is Mr. Johnson, dear.
But you just said he was Mr. McLeod.
That's who he is. But he's also Johnson as far as G47 and these Euclideans must find out. For just as long as we can keep it quiet.
I do not understand it at all, Captain.
Well, Joan, dear, a great many things have happened to us since you and Jerry went out on that submarine. But the most important of all was the arrival of a pigeon from Johnson's boat.
Oh, one of the little pigeons came here then? But how did it find the yacht? You were in the submerged lock then, were you not?
Yes, we were, until about a minute before the pigeon got here. And luckily for us, G47 wasn't around when the bird landed.
And was there a message on the pigeon, Captain?
Yes, Joe, a very important message. How far out was the boat when Johnson got the pigeon off, Mac?
About 150 miles, Captain.
Then he's too far away for these men to harm him now.
That he should be. It was a fast little boat he made the transfer to. And they ought to be many miles from here by now.
Then Mr. Johnson is not on his boat. Was not on it when the submarine towed it in here.
No, dear. Johnson transferred from his boat to another, which was passing. And for the last couple of hours, he's been running for Los Angeles at top speed.
Yes, you see, Joan, you and Jerry missed a few things by being in the submarine. When this yacht came out of the submerged lock, we saw the pigeon from Johnson's boat fluttering around trying to land. He got into the coat just as we reached the stern. The message said Johnson had transferred to another boat with a radio and would try to keep sending messages just as if he was on his own boat.
Then Johnson was gaining all the time it took to get his boat in here without G47 suspecting that anything was wrong.
Exactly, Joan. And to slow things up even more, Johnson pretended his fuel oil tanks were leaking and the boat would have to be slowly towed in here.
But the tanks were leaking. We followed the trail of oil with the submarine. There must have been hundreds of gallons of oil on the surface of the water.
Lassie, hundreds of gallons there were. And it fair broke the heart of Angus McLeod to open the valves and let it run away.
Oh, but that was very clever of you, Mr. McLeod.
Now, Mac, listen. I think for the looks of the thing, it might be wise for you to go aboard the other boat. Make yourself look busy with the crew, you know, and you, Pat, might go with him.
Yes, Tex, I think that's a good idea. And I would really like to see the members of the crew and thank them for their fine efforts in our behalf.
Yes, I've got a few questions to ask Joan. She might have something we can work on after being in that submarine. After a few minutes, you come back, Pat.
All right.
We'll try to lay a new set of plans before G47 discovers that my formula is still safely beyond his reach.
Pardon, would we be shoving off then? I hope you can see you're very clear out of all this, Captain. It's too mad a business for me.
I'll be right back, Tex. Oh, hello, Jerry.
Hello, Mrs. Gregory. I got some news for you.
Well, I've got to go over on the other boat with Mr. Johnson now, Jerry. You go on in with Tex and Joe, and I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Okay, Mrs. Gregory. Hello, Johnson. Hey, Tex. Boy, oh, boy, have I got the news.
Yeah, we've got some for you, too, kid. See that man with Mrs. Gregory? He isn't Johnson. But G47 thinks it is. And Johnson's safely on his way back to Los Angeles on another boat.
Is that not wonderful, Jerry?
Yeah, swell.
Well, you don't seem much surprised, kid. I thought that'd be mighty big news to you.
It would be, if I hadn't figured it out already.
You what?
Yeah. You remember, Joan, that I told you that submarine commander was going to be on our side?
Yes, but I think you were mistaken, Jerry.
Yeah, but I wasn't. I got a minute to talk to her where nobody could hear us. And she said she had figured out that those last messages of Johnson's weren't coming from his boat at all.
You mean that woman commander knew that and kept it secret from G47?
Yes, sir. And do you know what that means? It means that she's on our side. And with Johnson safely on his way back to Los Angeles, and that girl helping us on the island, we're a cinch to get away from here.
Right, kid. Nothing can stop us now.
The Magic Island is now divided into two enemy camps. G-47 and his powerful group of scientists on one side, and Mrs. Gregory's two boat crews on the other. Johnson's rescue boat is now lashed to the yacht, and the two ride easily in the surface lock between Piers 4 and 5 on the Isle of Euclidia. The scene is the radio cabin of the yacht, the cabin that is protected from the eyes and ears of the Euclideans by the seaweed cloth. Captain Bradford and Mrs. Gregory are explaining to Jerry and Joan some of the things that happened on the yacht while the young people were in the submarine.
But, Mother, Jerry is overly enthusiastic about the attitude of the submarine commander.
No, I'm not, Mrs. Gregory. That girl was doing a lot of thinking about what Joan and I told her. She's got the idea that maybe these Euclideans aren't so hot after all.
Yes, I'm inclined to agree with Jerry about that, Joan. Out of all the people on this island, it's only reasonable to suppose that some of them aren't any too happy.
Yes, Tex, I think Jerry is quite possibly right. Though we should be very careful about taking this girl into our confidence.
Well, she told me she didn't want to know anything about our plans. I guess she was afraid of what G-47 might do to her to make her tell if he guessed she knew anything.
That is reasonable, Jerry. G-47 would find some terrible way to make her disclose your plans if he found that she knew them.
Well, never mind about that now. Tell us just what happened here on the yacht. You know, old G-47's going to come busting over here any minute and ask a lot of questions. And, we'd all better give the same answers.
For one thing, we are absolutely sure that G-47 doesn't know the pigeon arrived with the message from Johnson.
And we've got the pigeon hidden in the canvas locker so he won't notice it's aboard.
That is fine, Captain. If you are sure G-47 does not suspect you received a message.
I know he doesn't, or he would have tried to find out what it was or take it away from me long before this.
I'll say he would.
And Tex has destroyed the message, so we're safe on that count.
Just what did the message say?
That Johnson was transferring to another boat which he had hailed and was going to get to Los Angeles as quick as he could and get my formula ready to come back here and destroy this island and rescue it.
But, Captain, how could the island be destroyed without destroying us also?
Tex will explain all that to you when we have time, dear.
How about that formula G-47's got now? The one he took away from McLeod when he thought Mac was Johnson. What's that?
It's a formula that will make something which will keep old G-47 busy for a long time when he finishes it.
I am confused about all these formulas and messages, Captain. Will you explain it for me?
Yeah, me too. Joan and I were in the sub while all this was going on. Guess we missed plenty.
Well, you see, the message we sent with the pigeon to Johnson, the message he finally received, contained the number of a safety deposit box in Los Angeles, with instructions and authority to have it opened, and Tex's formula taken out.
Then Johnson will have it compounded, return to the island here, and rescue us by using the formula to dissolve the island. Clear?
Yes, Captain.
We're with you so far.
The message the pigeon brought to us from Johnson told us about Johnson changing to another boat which he hailed, and said McLeod would keep on coming to us. And when the boat was captured, we were to introduce McLeod as Johnson.
I got that much of it all right. But how about the formula G-47 took away from Johnson? I mean McLeod. Where did that come from?
Why, Johnson wrote it out and gave it to McLeod, knowing it would be taken from him. And he printed it instead of writing, so there would be no question of my handwriting.
Then G-47 actually believes the formula he's now working on, the one he took from McLeod, is your universal solvent.
No doubt of it, Joe.
Yes, dear. G-47 is thoroughly deceived on that point.
But when they make this formula up in their laboratory, and it isn't a solvent, the trouble will start all over again.
Yeah, the trouble starts all over again. But this time, I think it'll be more trouble for G-47 than it is for us.
What do you mean, Captain?
Well, the formula they have now will really make something. And I hope there's a whole bunch of these Euclidean scientists working on it when I get it finished.
There will be. I heard G-47 order every scientist on the island into the central laboratory to work on this formula.
Then there's a chance of your desperate plan succeeding, isn't there, Tex?
The more of these Euclideans there are in that laboratory, the better our chances are.
What chances, Captain? What do you expect will be the result of the compounding of the formula?
That laboratory will immediately be filled with a gas which will put every living thing in the room to sleep for hours.
Gee, won't they have time to do anything about it?
Not a chance, Jerry. When the last ingredient is added to that formula and the resulting liquid raised to a certain temperature, the gas will form with the speed of an explosion. Combustion is practically instantaneous, and enough gas will be blown around the room in less than a second to put 1,000 men to sleep.
But, Captain, they will only be asleep. The gas will not permanently harm them. Is that not so?
Right, Joan.
Then when they wake up, terrible things will happen to all of us.
I've been afraid of that too, Joan. But Tex says those men will sleep long enough to give us a chance to take command of the island. and they'll wake up our prisoners.
Golly whiskers, that's sure something.
Oh, that is wonderful, Mother. But are you sure it will work, Captain Bradford?
There's no doubt of it. And we'll have time to do some planning before that happens. Because they'll discover that they haven't one of the ingredients. And they'll have to come to me for it.
So you see, we've really got a chance against these men at last. And we may need to take advantage of it if G47 gets too desperate before Johnson can return to our rescue.
That's all swell, but one thing worries me plenty, and I don't see how you're going to do anything about it.
What is that, Jerry?
Suppose Johnson sends a radio message to us. That'll give away everything.
Yes, I've thought of that. There's not much danger of it happening. But of course, Johnson will estimate the time it should take us to get control of the radio on the island. And if he should try to reach us before that has happened, well, it wouldn't be so good.
I hardly think he'll do that. Johnson knows the value of keeping his actual whereabouts a secret.
On the other hand, Mother, Johnson will want to keep well advised of your progress here, as it will be some days before he can reach Los Angeles and return.
Yeah, that's another thing I can't figure out.
What's that, Jerry?
How all this has been going on. 3 radio sets filling the air with messages, and yet we don't hear a word from anybody in the outside world.
Well, that has also occurred to me, Captain Tex. It seems strange that no one except Johnson has made any attempt to come to our rescue or contact us.
That is something Tex and I will explain to you and Jerry when the time is right, my dear. It's enough for you to know now that every move we have made here, every word that has passed through the air between this island and Johnson, is known in every civilized country in the world.
But how can it be kept quiet? I should think the newspapers and the radio news broadcasts would be full of it. Gee, it's the biggest news in the world right now, and I never heard of being able to keep anything like this quiet.
Well, someday you'll understand it all, kid. But for the present, it's enough for you to know, as Pat started to tell you. But we happen to have influence enough to keep this quiet until we want the world to act on it. Remember that it would mean certain victory for the Euclideans to attempt to bring in a rescue party now.
I can understand that, Captain. You would sacrifice thousands of lives and billions of dollars in any attempt to take this island by force, while by waiting, you may take it through strategy.
Right, Joan, dear. You and Jerry are fine, understanding aides, and you've been a great help to us.
I think, Mother, Jerry has been more of a help than you know.
In what way, dear?
Jerry talked so much about your world to the commander of the submarine that she gave us many privileges. And if what Jerry says is true as to her being willing to help us, then we have Jerry to thank for it.
Nice work, Jerry. What did you tell her?
Oh, I didn't tell her so much. It was just that she kind of took a liking to me. I guess she knew it never saw a fellow like me before. And then when she got kind of stuck on me, it was easy to get her on my side.
At least, Jerry, you have no doubt about your own ability with the ladies.
How old is this woman submarine commander, Joan?
She is very old, and Jerry is foolish in thinking she was attracted to him. The commander is 22 years old.
Poor old lady.
I hardly see how she gets around at that age.
Oh, you know what Joan means. She's just jealous, that's all.
Why, Jerry Hall, if your monumental conceit were worthy of the slightest consideration, it would only be to point out the utterly ridiculous impression created by your exaggerated ego.
She means I like me
Yes,
too much.
I get it. That was the general import of the remark.
Never mind, Jerry. It's sometimes better to think well of yourself than to be too modest. After all, the world takes us at our own estimation.
However, it would be well to remember that the estimation must be lived up to.
Okay, forget it. I'm sorry, Joan. I didn't mean to start a battle over it. The important thing is that the girl is on our side, and I'm sure of it, because she knew enough to wreck our plans if she'd have gone to G47 with it.
Just exactly what did she know, Jerry?
Something about those last messages not coming from Johnson's boat, wasn't it?
Yeah, and why I'm kind of worried about this, well, is because G47 should have noticed it the same as the commander did.
The only reason the direction of Johnson's radio beam did not attract the attention of G47 was because he was giving all his attention to the prism reflectors, observing the progress of the submarine.
But won't the variations of that radio beam be recorded so that he'll stumble onto it later?
Oh, they are recorded, of course. But in the excitement of getting Captain Bradford's formula from Johnson, or thinking he had, G47 must have forgotten to read the recording device.
Then Johnson's secret is safe only until G47 decides to take a look at the records in that device.
I'm afraid that's it. But maybe he'll forget it altogether.
How often are the plates or rolls or whatever the record is traced on, how often are they replaced, Joe?
Every 24 hours, a new roll of sensitized metal is inserted in the recording devices. Then the old rolls are safely stored away.
Looks like we've got a chance if G-47 doesn't look at that roll.
How did the submarine commander discover that Johnson's messages were not coming from his boat?
Well, she's got one of those directional beam recorders on the sub, and she watched it like a hawk.
Oh.
I guess she knew from the first the message that something was funny about it.
Also, she would have noticed the loss of strength in the beam as Johnson was getting farther and farther away when he was supposedly talking from the very boat we were towing.
Well, if that girl commander knew all that and still kept quiet about it, Jerry's right. She's on our side, no doubt about it.
Is there anything we can do now, Tex? I mean, can we further our plans in any way?
I should think the best thing would be to just sit tight and act sorry for ourselves.
An excellent idea, Jerry. If we act as if we had any plans, G-47 would soon sense that our position was not as hopeless as we pretend it is.
Quiet. I've got a good view of the pier through this porthole. G-47 is coming, and he's in a hurry.
I'm afraid that'll mean bad news.
Don't give up too easy, Mrs. Gregory.
I think we should say nothing more.
Right, Joe. Just sit still and look hopeless. Come in.
Oh, Tex, it's G-47.
Precisely. You will come with me to the other boat at once, Captain Bradford. I need some of your materials to complete the formula.
Don't give them to him, Tex.
No use being foolish, Jerry. I'll come, G-47.
At least, Captain Bradford, you have intelligence enough to realize that your position is quite hopeless.
You win, G-47. Come on, let's get it over with.
Oh, Jerry, I'm afraid our last hope is gone. Things are working out just as Tex said they would.
And when G-47 gets those materials, he can finish the formula Captain Bradford gave him.
Yeah, Tex wants him to finish it, and we'll all be on our toes when it happens. Then we'll show him how to run this island for a while.
Generally speaking, what a fellow means when he says it was a fair fight. Turns out to be, I won the way I expected to. Avak was in a position that they weren't supposed to win. They were going to have to use an unexpected method. Of course, that would be called unfair, wouldn't it?
Right over here, Captain Bratton. Just take a seat, and I'll be with you in a moment.
Oh, thanks.
Nothing special the Immigration Department wants to see me about, is there? I mean, if it's those little fungoid life forms you're worried about. No, Captain, it's not fungoid life forms. Let's see. Your ship just arrived here at Terra an hour ago. Yes, we docked at LaGuardia Field at 4 p.m. In fact, I haven't even had time to... Has your crew left the ship yet? No, sir. After all, I am conscious of the great responsibility we intersystem cargo carriers have regarding the importation of non-terrestrial toxins and microbodies and unicellular life. Captain, I'm not a bacteriologist. My name's Jesse. I'm a psychologist. I see, sir. Just what do you see? You're making a check to see if I'm space-worthy, not neurotic or cracking up under the stress. And you jot down notes and just from little slips a man makes because he's tired and needs a rest and a shower and a couple of beers at a high-class bar and maybe a few days of quiet in the country, away from always worrying about a meteor breaking through the hull. I admit I am somewhat knocked out. Who wouldn't be? I brought this cargo in from Deneb. We've been out there between systems, the long haul, for 13 months. Now, we got nothing to apologize for. You let me rest up. How about trying that instead of badgering us with psychological questions? I'm sorry, Captain. Now, let's see. You visited the 6th planet to the Deneb system. Avak or something like that? Avak. Did you and your crew enjoy your stay there? Well, they treated us okay. We were 3 weeks loading. During that time, we mostly just strolled around taking things easy. Wasn't much to see. Mostly just small towns, factories. They make ceramic household goods. That was our cargo, in fact. That's a darn small planet they've got there, sir, and overcrowded. Every half mile there's a factory going like crazy, and the air's so full of smoke from the stacks you can hardly breathe. Sir, they've got almost no raw materials. But out of what they have, plus the synthetics they've developed, they're able to turn out so much pottery that you'll find it everywhere in the galaxy. It's amazing. Every system you visit, you see vases, salt shakers, flower pots. They're all marked, made at Avak. Just think what they could do if they had a sufficient supply of raw materials. Makes you wonder. Yes, it does make you wonder. They fought a little war back about 10 years with the other planets of their system. Beat them, too.
But it didn't do him any good. The other planets were just as depleted. Captain, I want you to examine something. Oh, yes, sir. That's an Avakian space mine. Seeks out the target by beaming in on the target's heat. They used that in a couple of 3 wars. Awful thing. Look at that boring snout. Mm-hmm. I'm told it cuts its way through the hull of a ship to the wall of a building until it actually gets to a living creature. Then... Yes, sir. It's a vicious weapon. The troops called them leeches. But that was 10 years ago, sir. Now they're a commercial planet. They threw out the military leaders and voted in a business administration. They're all for trade and culture exchange now. They learned their lesson. Did they? Captain, while you were on Avak, did you buy and bring back here with you any toys for your children? Just as a fair fight hasn't been well defined, neither is the concept toy. Take a portable typewriter, for instance. Is this a toy for a child? Or is it the working tool of a newspaper reporter? It isn't really what the thing is, but how you think about it, what you intend to do with it. What is a toy? A toy for children. While you were on Avak, did you buy and bring back here with you any toys for your children? Well, as a matter of fact, I'd like to see what toys you bought on Avak. Let's have a look. Put it back on the ship in my cabin. Captain, I'd like you to glance at this particular toy. It showed up a month or so ago. Possibly you saw something like it in the store on Avak. It looks like an ordinary set of model soldiers to me. British Grenadiers, I guess. Very authentic, too. Gosh, look at the detail on the uniforms. Yes, it's amazing. You'd think they were real. Genuine British soldiers of centuries ago, standing 3 inches high. And their cannons. You'd almost expect those cannons to fire, wouldn't you? Fine workmanship. Oh, Captain, the cannons do fire. No kidding. I'll show you. I'm using now what is called a ramrod. Ramming the powder and shot in. Just a second. There. Now it's ready. They must use watchmaker's tools, microscopic precision. I'll fire it out the window. Ready? Ready. Yes, guards, will you begin clearing the debris? I'm sorry, I meant it to explode entirely outside the building. Must have caught a corner of the window. This is terrible. Now, to the soldiers. They're dead, of course. Dead? Well, let's say inert. We destroyed their neural systems with high voltage. What? We simply took the cartons of soldiers and put a charge through them. They're fragile. It's hard, even for a people uniquely talented in microscopic assembly, to produce a workable robot only 3 inches high. I see. Of course, robots. Yeah, look at this. Why, I'd say this is, it looks like a little toy telephone set. Gosh, we had those when I was a kid. Talk to the kid across the street, transmit for a block or more. Talk into it. Here, I'll get out the mate and answer you. In fact, I'll go stand over here, away from you with it. Okay, Captain, can you hear me?
I hear you, sir.
Say something foul.
Sir?
You're a spaceman. Think of the foulest oath you can remember. Say it into the phone.
Okay, sir. You know, sir, it's the darndest thing. I guess I must be nervous. I can't.
Try.
I can't, sir. I can't think of anything foul.
All right. That's what I wanted to show you, Captain. The phone acts to inhibit the speech center of persons near it. Sort of damper. Actually, the technique was known to us. We used it during World War III, during brain-cleansing therapy. You know, obliterating hostilities from the minds of enemy prisoners. Sure. But to incorporate it into a child's toy. You see, Captain, a child exposed to this mechanism over a long period of time would develop a docility, a passivity, an inability to feel angry or aggressive. In other words... Brain cleansed. Now look at this. What seems to be... Yes, it's one of those question and answer games. You get a buzz if you guess the right answer. I'll fit a question sheet over the terminal. With this toy,
The child develops a rudimentary knowledge of natural facts on a variety of topics. Now, let's see. This top sheet consists of questions on growing plants and flowers.
Well, let's try something different.
All right. How about great composers?
No, I think I'd like to try this sheet titled The Human Body. I used to know something about that. I took a college correspondence course in biology during a long trip out.
Very well. I'll plug in question 3. The digestive system breaks down protein foods into what simple molecule?
Amino acids. Answer number 9. Plug the answer wire onto the number 9 terminal.
I agree. Amino acids is right.
Well, what's the matter then? It works normally.
Now try it the way we started. Question 3 with answer 9. You won't get a buzz this time.
Well, but we did get a buzz, and it's right.
Yes, we got a buzz before, but we won't get one now. See, Captain, there's a circuit in this thing that randomizes the buzz. The child, using this so-called educational toy, will get correct answers to start with. Then the randomization sets in, and before he is sure enough of his own knowledge to contradict it, his meager fund of accurate facts will be gradually distorted, not wiped out, but altered more and more, until he is confused.
But why?
So he'll be convinced that there is no such thing as a correct answer. And now I'd like to see the toys you brought back with you. Let's go to your ship and have a look at them.
The man who won the last war always wants his methods of fighting a war to be the ultimate weapons, because he wins with those. But what is the real ultimate weapon? A weapon that no other weapon can touch. How about the weapon of changing your enemy into a friend, or changing your enemy so he doesn't even try to defeat you? Wouldn't that be a more powerful weapon than any possible attacking device? This is my younger kid, Charles. He's 9.
What is it?
Well, can't you tell?
Looks like a costume.
Yeah, I'll spread it out.
What kind of a costume is it? I don't see any identifying features. Looks more like a sack. A gray sack.
I shopped around Avak for days before I ran across this. Yeah, I'll put it on. Yeah, right sleeve. Left.
There. Explain it, Captain.
But can't you see?
No, you're simply inside a gray sack. That's all I can see.
I'm a cowboy.
What?
This is a cowboy suit. More than that. Of course, it takes a few minutes.
Good Lord. It's changing color.
So am I. Changing me into a cowboy. Darn it, I said I was a cowboy, and I am. Now, I don't mean I'm just pretending to be a cowboy. I mean as long as I'm wearing this material around me, I actually become a cowboy. Notice I've got chaps on my legs? I put this on a couple of times on the trip back, me and the crew both. Really got a kick out of it. Looky here. I got me a 6-gun.
Where did that gun come from?
Grew out of the suit.
And your head's expanding and turning black.
Nah. That's my 10-gallon black felt hat.
Incredible.
Put 'em up, partner.
Why, your skin looks like leather.
Is that your idea of a humorous remark, partner? Take it off. Take what off? That material before it's too late. Take it off before you're so far down in that fantasy world you can't get back. Like they intended it. Take it off. Just when I was beginning to enjoy myself. You know, friend, when I was just a little tyke, I used to pine to be back in the good old days and ride the range. Back when you could smell the sagebrush growing out in the free country where... What was I saying?
Why, a cowboy.
Why, I always wanted to be a cowboy.
Would it be the same for me, I wonder?
Oh, no,
I put it on?
It's whatever your fantasy is. Now, Charles probably will use it to become a 20th century businessman. Gray flannel suit, Ivy League. He reads all those old adventures about New York before it was destroyed. Those advertising operas.
Give me that material. I'm impounding it.
But why? What's wrong? It just helps a kid act out perfectly normal childhood fantasies. Charles plays advertising exec all day long. With this, he can...
A child couldn't possibly hold out against it. It almost got you, and you're a grown man. Do you want to lose your child? Is that what you want? Do you want to see him disappear down into a fantasy world and never return? Let's see what else you brought back.
Yeah. Only one more toy. Actually, it's a game for my older boy, Pete. He's 12.
Open it up.
Yeah. It's called Enterprise. I figure all the kids in the block can play. It's a lot of fun. A bunch of us played it on the trip back.
Can two play?
Mm-hmm. 2 players up to 8.
Very well, let's play.
Each player buys shares with money borrowed from the other players. Now, at any time, a creditor can demand payment either in shares or in money. But as soon as a player ceases to extend credit, he must show what shares he holds. He has to show which groups he's been able to get control of. From then on, he has to bid out in the open, with everyone else knowing what he's got shares in.
I bid 3,000 solar units for 2 shares of Neptune Non-Ferric Ores Incorporated.
Make it 4,000 and the shares are yours.
4,000.
Sold. Okay. Now, you owe me 600,000 solar units, and I owe you 355,000 solar units. I demand payment of the difference.
I see. I don't have 245,000 units worth of stock.
Yes, you do. If you turn in your Martian Diamond Mines Limited.
Oh, but that's my best bluff. That corners you from the inner planets.
Put it in or call the game over.
All right, it's in.
Game's over.
But why?
I have enough solar units left to buy all your remaining stock. So in terms of profit and loss, you're wiped out.
Yes, I guess you're right. Very well, you wind up with 3 expensive groups. And I don't have any.
Well, do you see anything harmful in this game? All I can see myself is that it teaches a child the basic facts of economic life, and that's something every child should know.
No, I have to admit I find nothing subversive in this game. In fact, it's nothing but a variant of an old Terran parlor game called Monopoly. Yes, you can retain this toy, Captain. It meets with immigration specifications.
Well, that's a relief.
Sorry to have caused you so much trouble. I'll go and interview your crew and see what children's artifacts they brought back. You can go to your hotel now.
Can you find your way around the ship?
Oh, yes, I'm used to it. I'll see you again, and next time you're down.
All right.
Hope your children enjoy playing Enterprise. Matter of fact, I enjoyed it myself. Might have you bring in a set for me next time.
Sure. Anything to accommodate the immigration department. Well, I better get all the pieces back in the box before they get lost. Heck, in that game, Monopoly, the player who wound up with the most money and property won the game. And in Enterprise, the winner is the one who's wiped out. Hey, I'll bet he didn't realize he beat me. But he didn't have a solar unit or a share of stock left. He won by a clean sweep.
Presenting the transcription feature, Superman.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. Yes, it's Superman, strange visitor from the planet Krypton, who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. Superman, who can leap tall buildings at a single bound, race a speeding bullet to its target, bend steel in his bare hands, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth and justice. But before we join Superman, listen.
And now to our story. America has been shocked to learn of the mysterious disappearance of 3 parties of engineers who, under orders from the Hemisphere Administration in Washington, have gone into the Andes Mountains to survey the possibility of building a new highway between North and South America. To solve the mystery, Perry White, editor of the Daily Planet, has bought a stratoplane in which he hopes to fly to South America, cross the Andes, and discover the truth behind the missing expedition. With him on the test flight of the amazingly powerful plane are Lois Lane and Clark Kent. When they turn on the shortwave radio, they learn that John Ives, Hemisphere Administration Director, wants Clark Kent in Washington. White instructs the pilot to head the ship toward Washington so that Kent can report. We find him now in the private office of the director, John Ives.
Kent, I'll be very brief.
Yes, sir.
You have a splendid record as a troubleshooter. I admired the work you did for the Navy Department.
Thank you.
You've been a great help to us. Heaven knows we need help now, desperately.
You mean on this South American case?
Exactly. Most completely baffling thing I've ever run up against. Oh, are you well enough to assist me? You seem to have a bad cold.
Oh, no, I'm just a little hoarse. I've been dictating war news all day.
Oh.
Of course, I'll have to check with my editor, Perry White, about getting a leave of absence.
Oh, naturally. Now, you can take care of that later. Now, you know the background of the case, don't you?
Yes, but...
what, Kent? Speak up.
Well, to be perfectly honest, sir, I've had a feeling that perhaps the government hasn't disclosed everything it knows about the case.
Well, I don't blame you, Kent. It seems fantastic that we should know absolutely nothing. But it's the truth. Of course, Kent, don't think we expect you to accomplish miracles. After all, you're not Superman.
Oh, no. No, of course not. But you can be sure I'll do my best. When do I leave?
Leave?
Yes.
Where to?
Well, South America.
Oh, now, hold on a minute, Kent. You don't understand.
What do you mean?
I don't want you to go to South America. I need you here in Washington.
But those engineers disappeared in the Andes. How can I help find them in Washington?
Kent, searching parties are absolutely useless. We don't want to lose any more lives by sending out more expeditions. Those mountains are treacherous. We're up against something unknown, something uncanny. We need a theory, Kent. We've got to be armed with knowledge to tackle this job properly. Foolish to go on squandering human lives. We've got to think this thing out.
I understand. I'm sorry I jumped to conclusion. Of course, I'll help you any way I can.
Good. Now, I suggest you return to Metropolis, get matters straightened out with your editor, pack some things, and return here as soon as possible.
Right, I'll get going now.
I can arrange to have you flown to Metropolis and back if you wish.
Well, thanks, but if you don't mind, I'll use the ordinary means of transportation.
Well, suit yourself. Just get back as soon as you can.
I will, sir. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yes?
Press room, sweetie pie. We're closing the extra in 2 minutes. Can you make it?
Yes, if you stop calling me every 10 seconds. Copy, boy. Here, rush this downstairs.
Oh, sure thing, Miss Lane.
And hurry.
Okay.
Well, that's that. Never a dull moment. Well, if it isn't the Wizard of Washington himself.
Oh.
What brings you back so soon, Mr. Kent?
Well, I have to speak to Mr. White. Is he in his office?
No, he drove back to the airport. He took Jimmy Olsen with him. They're loading stuff on the plane. Mr. White wanted to leave as soon as you got back. Now that you're here, we can start immediately.
Well, I can't go.
Why not?
They want me back in Washington to work on this South American case.
What good will you do? I suppose I didn't really mean to say that. Say, have you taken anything for that throat of yours?
No, it'll clear up. How soon will Mr. White be back?
Don't know. That depends on how long it takes to get the plane ready.
Oh, wait a minute. It sounds like Mr. White's voice. He must be back.
Number small such a slow-moving gang in this way. I walk out of the place for a couple of hours and the whole paper goes to pot.
Oh, hello, Kent.
Hello, Mr. White. May I see you alone for a moment?
Yes. Come on in. Lois, just send for your baggage?
Yeah, it's downstairs.
Good. Jimmy!
Of all the slow folks in the world, he's the worst. Jimmy!
Coming. Just a minute. Told me to put that stuff in the car. That's where I've been. Oh, Mr. Kent.
Now, look here, you young, irresponsible rascal.
Well, gee whiz, Mr. White. What did I do wrong now?
All right. Stop blabbering. I just want you to be sure that I have a copy of the extra as soon as it comes off the press. Come on, Kent.
Okay.
Yes?
This is O'Brien in the press room, Mr. White. We just got the extra rolling.
All right, stop bragging. It's the extra on the disappearance of the third expedition. It'll be on the street before any paper in town. Not bad.
You mean the staff of the Planet isn't a slow-moving gang of nitwits?
Who said that?
You did.
Huh? Oh, well, that's different. If I don't yell my head off all the time, they'll think I'm getting soft. Now, I couldn't consider flying down to South America if I weren't so sure that the Planet would keep on going full steam ahead without me. We've got a great bunch here, Kent. But you're fired if you tell anyone I said so. Well, what happened in Washington?
Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Ives asked me to work with him on this South American case.
What are you talking about? You work for the Daily Planet, Kent.
Well, I know, but...
You're leaving for South America with Lois and me right now.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. White. I'm going back to Washington.
Against my orders?
Put it that way if you like.
No, wait a minute, Kent. I counted on having you along on this trip. Not going to be any tea party.
No telling what kind of trouble we'll run into. Well, I'm not as young as I used to be.
Gosh, Mr. White, I'd give anything to be able to go along. You don't think I like to sit behind a desk in Washington, do you? I just happen to believe that my first duty is to the government.
Of course, Kent, you're right. I'm sorry I was unreasonable. Well, I want to get started before daylight. Lois, come in here.
Mr. White, there's something I want to ask you.
What is it?
Well, I realize that you want to keep the trip a secret, but if you run into any trouble, if anything unusual happens, will you radio me at Washington?
That's an odd request, Kent. I'm figuring on a scoop, you know.
I know, but...
Well, if we find anything that makes a good story, why should I let it slip through my fingers?
Because it may give us a clue. Those disappearances are closely connected with the government's goodwill program in South America. Besides, I promise you I'll keep any information you give me a secret.
All right, Kent, I agree. Good. Our first duty is to the government, always.
You wanted me, Mr. White?
Yes. Get ready. We're leaving immediately.
I'm all set. Get the extra, Mr. White.
Good. Not bad. Not bad at all. Good story, Lois.
Thank you, Mr. White. First time you ever said that.
It's probably the first time you ever deserved it. Jimmy?
Yes, Mr. White?
Now, here's an envelope I want you to give to the assistant managing editor tomorrow. It contains sealed instructions. Now, you guard it carefully. If anybody asks where we are, remember, you don't know. Well, I guess that's all. Goodbye, Kent. Do a good job in Washington.
Thank you, sir. Goodbye. So long, Lois. Good luck.
Goodbye, Clark. We'll miss you. Goodbye, Jimmy.
Come on, Lois. This is no time to gas.
Guess you wish you were going along, don't you, Mr. Kent?
Yeah, sure do, Jimmy.
Lois told me you had to go to Washington. Gee whiz, everybody's going away but me. I'm kind of worried, too. I mean about Lois and Mr. White.
Well, what do you mean, Jimmy?
Oh. Hey, listen to that thunder.
All right.
Well, when I was helping to load the plane, I saw a strange-looking guy hanging around.
What?
Yeah, he was dressed in a long coat, and he had his hat pulled down over his eyes.
You sure it wasn't Bronson, the pilot, in his flying suit?
Oh, no, this bird was tall. He went away after a while.
Well, I wouldn't worry about it if I were you, Jimmy. Well, I have to be getting back to Washington. Now, you help the assistant editor all you can and stick close to the phone because I may need you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it does sound like a storm coming up. Hope they take off all right. So long, Jimmy.
So long, Mr. Kent.
Climbing over. Right. Controls seem stiff. I don't understand it. I can hardly move the elevators.
Were they all right when we started?
Just a little, Todd. I didn't think it was enough to bother about. I moved it a little then. All right, we're climbing. We're above the storm now, aren't we? Yes, but I can't level off. It's pulling me harder. I'll snap the controls. Something's jammed. Why don't you cut the motors? We spin with the tail elevators in this position. I'm still climbing. We're 17,000.
Wait a minute. What's that? Listen. It's horrible, like a weird flute.
What is it, Bronson? I don't know. Never heard anything like it. We're at 19,000. We need oxygen. Open that valve, Mr. White. All right. Why, it's not working. It's got to work. Hurry. We're still climbing. We must have oxygen. The indicators are at zero. The containers are empty. That's impossible. I checked them myself an hour ago.
Mr. White, I feel faint.
Hutcher. I've got it. Oh, she's unconscious. We'll have to bail out. You can't bail out. We're too high up. We never make it at this altitude. You need oxygen. I still can't move the control. Keep trying. I'm going to call Washington before it's too late. I'm getting weak myself. There it is. It's on. Calling official 177. Hemisphere Administration. Distress call. Daily Planet plane. Controls are jammed. Need oxygen. Badly.
Has the tragic plight of Perry White's stratoship any connection with the disappearance of the 3 expeditions in the Andes Mountains? And what are the strange flute-like noises that echo through the cabin as the giant steel bird climbs higher and higher, its almost unconscious passengers in deadly peril, gasping for oxygen? The mystery deepens, so don't miss a single startling episode. Tune in and listen with Superman.
don't forget, tune in again for the next thrilling episode with Superman.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Action Comics magazine. Presenting the transcription feature, Superman.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. Yes, it's Superman, strange visitor from the planet Krypton, who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. Superman, who can leap tall buildings at a single bound, race a speeding bullet to its target, bend steel in his bare hands, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth and justice. But before we join Superman, listen.
And now to our story. With its controls mysteriously jammed, Perry White's stratoship soars higher and higher to almost certain disaster. Inside the plane, Lois Lane, Bronson the pilot, and Perry White are slowly sinking into unconsciousness because of the lack of oxygen. Gasping for breath, Perry White turns on the plane's shortwave transmitter and sends a distress call. Meanwhile, not having been able to join White and Lois in their search for the American engineers who disappeared somewhere in the Andes Mountains, Clark Kent has returned to Washington to begin his duties in the Secret Service Division of Hemisphere Administration, a department of the government concerned with defense and goodwill between North and South America. We join him as he enters the radio room, where Evans, the operator, is seated at a control panel.
Oh, hello, Mr. Kent.
Hello, Evans. Anything doing yet?
Oh, no, sir. Not a word from G33.
Oh.
Say, what's the matter with your voice?
What do you mean? Oh, just a bit hoarse and dictating too much war news over the phone. Now, what's the situation here?
Well, all we've been getting is code from South American freighters. I guess that third expedition is lost, too. I call them on the hour.
It's almost time now, isn't it?
About 2 minutes. Say, why don't you put the call through? Maybe you'll have better luck.
Okay. How do you work it?
Well, you turn to 1780 on the middle dial. That one.
Oh, Sure, fine. Why don't you go out for a smoke or some fresh air?
Thanks, I will. Be back in 5 minutes.
Right-o. Let's see, 1780. There it is. Mr. White will probably use that G33 wavelength, too. Wonder if he's transmitting. I'll try a little more volume.
Still climbing. Need oxygen.
What's that?
Controls still jammed.
What?
Strange noises outside cabin. Can't hold out much longer. Location, 1,800 miles southwest of Metropolis.
Hey, Scott.
Calling official 177. Perry White calling official.
Right.
Why
don't they bail out? They're probably too high. What am I waiting for? This is no time to be sitting here. Only a few seconds left to make it. See now, 1,800 miles southwest of Metropolis and still climbing. That means an extra hard spurt for Superman. Hope it isn't too late. Up, and away!
Piercing the air with the speed of a thunderbolt, darting through mile-high clouds, onward and onward, almost too fast for the human eye to see him, Superman charges through space. Battering winds tear at his wide red cape, but nothing stops him, nothing swerves him from his course. 1,000 miles with the unflagging speed of a bullet. 1,400, 1,500, wait! What's that? It's the plane, Perry White's stratoship, like a mad monster bird still climbing into the heavens. Hold on. They've cut the engine. The plane falters. The nose is beginning to point down. She's going into a spin. Down and down. She'll never come out of it. Her wings will tear off. Wait. What's that speck in the sky? It's Superman. Can he see the falling plane? He's circling around and around. Yes, he sees it. He's plunging down. He's caught up with the plane. There, he's on the fuselage, crawling toward the tail. But what's happening inside? Are Perry White and Bronson still conscious?
That sound, like a flute. Almost as though it caused this trouble. Bronson, are you composed again? No. Still stuck. I can't move them. Listen. That flute-like noise. It stopped. The controls are free. They work. Now to level out of the spin. We've got plenty of altitude. We ought to be able to make it. I'll turn on the ignition. We're pulling out of it. We've leveled off. We're safe.
Thank heaven there's plenty of air down here. Now, I'll have a look at Lois.
It'll rub her wrists to restore circulation.
Lois. The color's coming back to her cheeks. Lois, everything's all right. We're safe.
What happened?
Well, Bronson cut the engine and we started to spin. Then the controls became free. We landed as soon as possible and checked them.
That noise. Stop.
Yes, we're all right now. Now breathe deeply.
Oh, I feel better already. Look outside the cabin, a face.
Where? Oh, I don't see anything. Take it easy, Lois. You're a bit unstrung.
No, I'm not, Mr. White. I saw a face. I'm sure I did.
Easy, Lois. Easy.
As the stratoship flies safely on toward the horizon, Superman turns and streaks back to Washington, carrying with him a strange piece of wood that had been jammed into the control cables of the plane. In the office of the administration director, John Ives, disguised once more as Clark Kent, he shows the piece of wood to Dr. Colson, curator of the National Museum.
Where did you get this flute, Mr. Kent?
Is that stick of wood a flute, Dr. Colson?
That's exactly what it is, Mr. Ives. But you haven't answered my question, Mr. Kent. Now, where did you get it?
I'd rather not say, Doctor.
Now, look here, Kent. You've got to be more cooperative. I asked Dr. Colson over here at your request. He was good enough to drop all his work at the museum to meet with us, and now you refuse to answer a simple question.
But, Mr.
Besides, there's a rather strange coincidence about all this. I didn't tell you because I regarded it as being unimportant, but all three of the expeditions that were lost in the Andes reported hearing eerie flute-like noises just before we lost contact with them.
What?
And now you walk in with a flute.
Well, that's amazing.
Where did you get it, Mr. Kent?
Well, I don't want to appear stubborn or uncooperative, but I just can't answer that question now.
Well, then why are you wasting Dr. Colson's time with a ridiculous toy flute?
I'd hardly call it a toy, Mr. Ives. This happens to be a very good copy of an ancient Inca tribal flute. If it were authentic, it would be one of the greatest historical discoveries of all time.
Oh? Why, Dr. Colson?
Kent, this happens to be a very busy department, not a personal history class for you.
No, that's a logical question, Mr. Ives. Let me answer it.
Oh, very well.
Now, as you see, Mr. Kent, this flute is made of wood, of the Cypresses macrocarpa family. Hard but perishable.
I see.
After 400 years, it couldn't possibly remain in this condition. Part of it would have rotted away. Don't you see that if this flute is authentic...
Go on, Dr. Colson.
It means that it was made less than 400 years ago.
Yes?
And therefore, the lost Inca civilization did not die. It means that somewhere, somehow, it continued, unknown to the rest of the world.
And that the lost Inca nation may still exist. That one of the greatest and richest of the ancient civilizations may still be alive.
It's fantastic. It's utterly impossible.
But if that flute were real, it wouldn't be impossible, would it?
No, but there isn't a ghost of a chance of its being real. Men have searched for centuries.
And found nothing, I know. Then why wouldn't it be worth a little time to check this yourself?
Well, I suppose I might.
How would you do it?
Well, first of all, I'd put it under an infrared ray.
Yes?
That would disclose the presence of any false markings or material.
I see.
Microscopic examination would show if these carvings were made with the proper kind of knife. Then there are acid tests and dye tests. There's no chance of making a mistake.
How long would your tests take?
Oh, who knows, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 5 days. I'll go back to the museum now and make a preliminary examination.
All right.
If I find anything of interest, which I doubt, I'll phone you. Otherwise, I'll get in touch with you or Mr. Ives sometime tomorrow.
Good.
Well, goodbye, Mr. Kent.
Bye, sir.
Take my advice and don't hold out any hope on this. Goodbye, Mr. Ives.
Goodbye, Dr. Colson. I'm sorry.
Perfectly all right, I understand.
Now, see here, Kent. I've stood about as much of this nonsense as I'm going to.
But
I asked you to come to Washington to assist me. I thought you had brains, courage, foresight. Instead, you waste my time with nonsense.
Oh, Mr. Ives, if you'll only give me a chance, I don't think I've wasted your time.
Oh, you don't?
No.
You walk in here with a ridiculous wooden flute. You kill the whole afternoon. You break up my day and Dr. Colson, and you have the nerve to say you haven't wasted time.
But if...
Why, there are 9 great American engineers somewhere out in the Andes, maybe breathing their last at this very moment. 130 million people are waiting for this department to act, to do something, to help find those men. And you're playing around with flutes.
Mr. Ives, I haven't forgotten those men for 1 second. You said you had to have a theory before you act. You said this case required brain work.
Yes, and a lot you're doing about it. Brain work, Kent, not flute work. Maybe you're running a fever over that bad throat of yours.
Oh, no, Mr. Ives. Don't you see what a clue that flute may be? The Inca Indians vanished in South America. Well, now look. Where could they vanish more completely than in the Andes Mountains? Wild, unexplored, vast mountains of granite. It's the perfect hiding place.
Kent, you're out of your mind.
You yourself said that the expeditions reported weird flute-like noises just before radio contact was broken.
Kent, I think this has gone far enough. I refuse to listen to any more of this crack-brain talk. I don't think the Hemisphere Administration Office has any further need for your services.
Well, Mr.
You
Ives...
can leave for Metropolis immediately. And I warn you, I don't want you to meddle in this case. Those are my official instructions.
All right, Mr. Ives. That's the way you feel about it.
That's exactly the way I feel about it. Goodbye. Stupid idiot. Yes?
Mr. Ives, is Mr. Kent there? This is Dr. Colson.
No, I just got rid of him. What's the matter?
It's absolutely incredible.
What's incredible, Colson? What are you talking about?
The Inca flute.
Well, what about it? I thought I heard the end of that flute.
It's real, Ives. It's authentic.
Are you sure?
Absolutely. For heaven's sake, find Kent. We must know where that flute came from. Hurry, please.
All right, I'll find him, huh? Kent! Mr. Kent! Look, where are you? Mr. Kent!
The lives of 9 American engineers hang in the balance. Will one of the world's greatest historical secrets go unsolved? And what is happening to Perry White and Lois Lane as their stratoplane comes ever nearer the danger zone in the Andes Mountains? Follow the amazing developments as the mystery deepens in this strange international drama. Don't miss the thrills and excitement ahead. Tune in and listen with Superman.
Don't forget, tune in again for the next thrilling episode with Superman.
Look, up in the sky.
The bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Action Comics magazine.
Kellogg's Pep, the build-up wheat cereal, invites you to rocket into the future with Tom Corbett. Space Cadet. -5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. As roaring rockets blast off to distant planets and far-flung stars, we take you to the age of the conquest of space with Tom Corbett, Space Cadet. For the cadets at Space Academy, the most exciting phase of training begins on a huge field, scarred and pitted by the blasts of raw power needed to break Earth's mighty clutch of gravity and set men free to rocket toward distant planets. For this is the Academy spaceport, takeoff point for duty, adventure, and danger. Today, the entire Academy fleet of spaceships is out on the field ready to blast off on a mysterious mission. On the control deck of the rocket cruiser Polaris, cadet pilot Tom Corbett, Roger Manning, and Astro await Commander Arkwright's orders.
Attention! Attention, all cadet units!
Hey, listen, there's Commander Arkwright on the teleceiver.
Well, it's about time. Hear this. Doctors, you've all been wondering why you've received no advance orders on today's mission. The reason is simple. As officers of the Solar Guard, you will often have to go into action without advance notice. For instance, when you are sent to track down and subdue an outlaw or enemy ship, as you want to do now.
Hey, hear that, fellas? I suppose we're really going after an outlaw?
Of course not, you Venusian clump. Your mission will not be a real one, of course. The supposed criminal ship will actually be the Solar Guard cruiser Arcturus, piloted by Captain Strong.
Lucky guy. So that's why the skipper hasn't shown up.
What happens to us now? Do we just sit here? As you all know, Captain Strong is in charge of the Polaris unit, and obviously cannot be aboard the Polaris now since he's been gone for several hours. It has been decided that the Academy's training program will be greatly aided by making this entirely a cadet operation. Therefore, on this mission, each cadet unit will be in charge of its own ship.
Oh, brother, listen to that. Sounds good. Instead of taking orders from Captain Strong, we'll be chasing. I'll bet he leads us a real chase.
So here are your instructions for training maneuver 32. Or, as Captain Strong calls it, Operation Hide and Seek.
Hide and seek?
The outlaw was reported entering Earth's orbit at point A25 in Sector 12. This report from Terra Station. Moon observers have spotted the ship leaving our orbit at point M47, Sector 89.
Got that, Roger?
Naturally, Junior, all ships are to proceed to the last point of observation and pick up Captain Strong's trail, which may lead anywhere in the solar system. Then track him down and engage him in mock battle. Of course, you are not expected to defeat such an expert pilot.
Think you can lick him down?
Now, top space ace like the captain? Not yet.
But you will be graded on your battle tactics, as revealed by photographic recorders, and also on the knowledge and intelligence you bring to your track. Not just on how soon you find the Arcturus, since that may depend partly on luck.
Not when I'm doing the plotting.
Okay, Hotshot. Just see that you produce results.
One more thing. As I said, there is a strong possibility of danger, and you must be prepared to face it. You know that ships have been vanishing from the space lanes recently. One of them, the Academy cruiser Pollux, which disappeared 3 months ago on a routine flight. So keep your eyes peeled for trouble. Now, take your stations and prepare to blast off.
Let's go, Roger. Astro. Okay.
Right. And spaceman's luck to all of you.
We'll return to the exciting adventures of Tom Corbett, Space Cadet, in just a moment. So stand by.
Fellas and girls, let me take you for a tour around the mess hall here at Space Academy. Well, it's breakfast time now, and all the cadets are down here eating. Up front there, you can see the main table. That's reserved for the officers. There's Commander Arkwright, one of his aides now. You know, Commander Arkwright sets a good example for the cadets at breakfast time. Right now, he's helping himself to a big bowl full of Kellogg's Pep. Oh, and there's Tom Corbett. Let's say hello.
Hi there. I heard what you said about Commander Arkwright eating Kellogg's Pep. Well, that's no surprise. I'm eating Pep, too. And if you look around, you'll see just about all the cadets eating Pep. We've got a tough day ahead, and we have to keep in shape. That's why it's Kellogg's Pep for breakfast. Kellogg's Pep helps us stay on the ball in gym and in the classroom, too. Everybody knows you can't make a good showing if you don't start your day with a hearty breakfast. That's why smart spacemen start their day with Kellogg's Pep.
That's right, Tom. You spacemen listening, take a tip from Tom Corbett. Start your day the spaceman's way. Ask Mom to serve up a man-sized helping of the better-than-ever build-up wheat cereal, Kellogg's Pep. P-E-P. Pep.
As the rocket cruiser Polaris hurtles away from Earth, Tom, Roger, and Astro are at their stations, ready to track down the Arcturus, commanded by Captain Strong, lurking somewhere in the depths of space. Now, as the powerful atomic drive speeds the Polaris out of Earth's atmosphere, Tom checks his unit mates.
Control to power deck. Check in, Astro.
Power deck, aye.
How's everything down there?
Ship shape, Tom. The rockets are purring like kittens.
Great. Check you later. End transmission. Control deck to radar bridge. Check in.
Radar bridge, aye.
Any astrogation data ready yet, Roger?
Long ago, sonny boy, long ago.
Sorry, big shot. I should have known. Okay, let's have the correction for deviation from course.
Coming up. Starboard 24 degrees, 17 minutes, up 3 degrees.
Starboard 20... What?
You heard me, space boy. Starboard 24 degrees, 17 minutes.
24? Hey, what goes here? You call yourself an astrogator, Roger? Do you know that your figures would take us inside Mars' orbit instead of the spot where the Arcturus was last seen?
Sure, I know it.
You know it? Well, what are you trying to do, knock us out of this operation?
Hey, what's going on here?
I'm glad you came up, Astro. Our genius on the radar bridge is taking us way off course.
What?
Just simmer down, kiddies, and listen, Uncle Roger.
Okay, let's have it. Fast.
Listen, Commander Arkwright gave us 2 points where the Arcturus had been seen, not just the last one. So I plotted its course and then extended it by extrapolation.
Extra what?
Now, don't let it throw you, bird brain. It just means using known facts to reach a logical mathematical conclusion.
You, logical?
Sure. Why, even if the Arcturus went into an evasion curve, we'd pick up the trail hours before the others.
He could be right, Astro.
But Commander Arkwright said proceed to the last point, and he also said it wasn't enough just to be fast.
Exactly. He said we should prove our knowledge and intelligence, and that's just what I'm doing.
Okay, genius. But look, suppose those first figures were just stuck in to make it sound like an actual mission. Then where would you be?
Nowhere. But would a guy like the commander just stick in a set of figures? He'd make sure they were real.
Yeah, he probably would.
Well, come on, let's go.
Hold your jets. Astro, what do you think?
Well, I don't know. It sounds good, but I'm never sure about Roger's shortcuts. I'll leave it up to you.
Well, right now, I don't know either. I'd sure like to have the Polaris come in first and best, but I'd hate to have her last and worst.
Well, come on, Junior. Make up your mind.
All right, Roger. We'll do it your way.
Attaboy.
But believe me, brother, you'd better be right. Control deck to radar bridge. Control deck to radar bridge. Roger, check in, will you?
Blast it, Tom. Stop bothering me. I have to watch the sniffer for radiation traces.
Well, Astro and I have been waiting down here for an hour. Isn't there any sign of the Arcturus' trail yet?
No, I'll let you know when there is.
Yeah, if there is.
There will be. Hey, great Jupiter. We just entered the probability area. Just keep your gyro steady, fellas. I'll call you in transmission.
Huh. Keep our gyros steady, with our Academy ratings depending on his judgment.
Yeah, if he's followed us up, our names will be mud around the Academy.
You're so right, pal. Well, we might as well stay out with the rest of the space junk if anything happens.
Radar bridge control deck. Port 1 degree. Keep her level.
Right. Okay, Roger, on course. Have you got something?
Yeah, on the trail. Hold the ship steady as she goes.
Hey, nice going, Roger.
Ain't nothing of it, Astro. It's just a little old miracle.
Are you sure you're not just picking up cosmic radiation, Miracle Man?
Look, Corbett, I know the difference between random rays and a spaceship pattern. This is the Arcturus track. I'll bet my last cent on it.
Okay. I'm holding steady on your course.
That's it. Stick with Uncle Roger and his little sniffer, and you'll wear medals.
Yeah, if we don't wear out first.
Hey, genius.
You mean me, I suppose.
No one else. Where did you get that name, Sniffer?
Well, that's what it does, doesn't it? Or am I supposed to call it Radiation Detector Analyzer Mark III all the time?
It's a cinch you wouldn't, Roger.
Cut the chatter, you two. Roger, keep your eyes on that sniffer.
You better if he kept his nose at it.
Blow your jets, both of you. I got work to do.
Hey, I didn't make the hotshot mad, did I, Tom?
Oh, forget it. He's got a low boiling point anyway.
And not that I'd say it to his face, but he's a real top-drawer astrogator.
Yeah, that chance we took really paid off.
Radar bridge control deck. Check in quick.
Oh, that sounds like trouble.
Control deck guy. What's wrong, Roger? You didn't lose the trail, did you?
No, I didn't lose a trail. I found one. Another one.
You mean there are two trails?
Exactly, Junior. They run along together for a while, then go off in different directions. And I don't know which one to follow.
Radar bridge eye.
Getting anywhere in figuring out which of those two trails is the one we want?
Not yet, blast it. They're too similar.
Hey, Roger.
You in again, Astro, what?
Maybe one of the trails was made by a commercial spaceship.
No, I thought so at first, but the radiation patterns didn't pan out. Both these patterns were made by rocket cruisers. They're practically identical.
Can you check on which is the freshest trail, Roger?
Sure, by a diffusion comparison, but I think I can guess which is the right one without that.
Well, you better not guess, Roger. You better take time to check.
Look, I am sure. The last trail must be the one that deviates most from the original course. Come on, 6 degrees starboard, 1 down, and we're in.
That's mighty thin reasoning, Roger.
Listen, Tom, wasn't I right the last time? Didn't I get us this far? Well, don't I get a chance to...
All right. Don't cry all over the equipment. You win. I'm setting up the new course. Okay with you, Astro? Well, I suppose so, but I don't like it much. Neither do I, but I guess it's another chance we have to take, so full space speed and hope for the best. Hey, Tom, we're right on course, and the sniffer says the other ship is too. No deviation. Now, will you admit I was right?
Looks like it. Still, we may have more problems soon.
Yeah, what?
Well, we're moving in the general direction of Saturn, and you may have heard that Saturn has a moon.
9 moons, Professor.
I was thinking of the big one with the Solar Alliance colony.
Good old Titan. Remember the last time we landed there, that colonist's daughter?
Yeah, I remember. The Titan's been producing uranium as well as pretty girls. So freighters transporting the uranium back to Earth have all been using the space lane. And I think the Arcturus is heading for that lane.
Oh, you figure the Arcturus will make a run on the lane, work its radiation trail with the others, and then blast out again, huh?
That's the way it figures to me.
Shows how wrong you can figure sometimes, Junior. The sniffer could pick out a cruiser pattern from 1 million made by freighters.
I hope you can prove that, Hotshot.
Don't worry, I will. Say, maybe I won't have to.
What do you mean?
I'm getting something on my scanner. It's a spaceship, Tom, dead ahead.
A ship on this course? Why, that couldn't couldn't be a freighter.
It must be the Arcturus. My father.
Hey, Astro, did you hear that?
I sure did. Nice work, Roger. It's something funny, though.
Don't tell me you're not sure.
No, I'm sure than ever. The ship's making a good-sized blip on the screen now.
Already?
That's just it. The Arcturus should be burning up space, and instead she's just floating along, hardly moving. Great galaxy, suppose it's not the Arcturus. It must be. I guess Captain Strong's just tired of playing hide and seek.
All right, fellas, if it is the Arcturus, then she's a sitting duck. We can blast in on them before they can maneuver. Maybe before they know we're around. And we ought to get in some good shots, even if they are just on film.
Hey, maybe we can even win this dogfight. Oh, brother, if we could, wouldn't that make us hot stuff around the Academy?
It sure would. Okay, Roger. Keep your eyes on that screen. Astro, see if you can squeeze another couple of neutrons out of your rockets. Prepare to attack!
Radar to control.
Control eye.
Easy, just a touch to starboard, Tom, about 1 point. That's got it. Now, keep watching your viewport. You too, Astro. The spaceship will be in sight in a second. Let's hope you got the right one, Roger.
Oh, it has to be, Astro. If we're wrong...
You're not wrong. Look. There it is.
It's a Solar Guard cruiser, all right, Astro.
It must be the Arcturus. Fellas, we're in.
Almost. We still have a scrap on our hands, though. Okay, Roger, I'll handle the course visually now. You get on your gun control.
Right.
Stand by for changes in speed and course, Astro.
Aye, aye.
Remember, our guns contain telecams, not warheads, so there won't be any noise, only a little clicking sound.
Okay, let's start shooting.
We're not within range yet.
So what? We won't be wasting ammunition, just microphone.
We'll do it right anyway.
That's the way, Tom. The recorders will show it, too.
All right, coming into range. Ready, Roger? Ready? Fire forward battery.
Aye. Forward battery firing.
And right on the target. Okay, I'm starting to ease to port. Stand by to fire starboard battery. Forward battery, cease fire.
Cease fire, aye.
Fire starboard 1. Starboard 2.
Starboard battery's firing.
Keep them hot, Roger.
Hey, the Arcturus is waking up. They've seen us. Captain Strong's maneuvering to return fire.
Let him. Our pictures will show we got him first. But I'll try to out-jockey him anyway.
He's opening his forward gun ports. Hey, Tom, look.
Great Jupiter, he's going to fire a real warhead.
Is Captain Strong on space happy?
Here comes the first one. Astro, full blast on port steering rockets.
Full blast, aye. Here it comes. Wow, missed us.
And here comes another one. Astro, cut in emergency power. Let's get out of here.
Suits me fine.
Roger, contact Captain Strong. Tell him to lay off.
That's what I'm trying to do. Hey, he's trying to full salvo.
Oh, brother, we'll never be able to duck all of them. Astro, hit the starboard steering jets.
You make brace yourselves, guys. We're going to be clobbered. Jupiter. What noise amidships? Tom, you all right?
Yeah. Astro, check in.
Power deck. Aye.
Astro, what's the matter with you?
Nothing, Tom. I'm okay.
Then give me more power.
I can't. Main drive. Damaged. I can't.
Astro, check in.
Sounds like he's hurt, Tom.
Blast it. Can't you raise the Arcturus, Roger?
Not now. My transmitter shorted and the outside antenna is gone.
Oh, great. And look at the Arcturus. It's circling around. It's going to attack. And unless we can do something to stop it, we'll be blasted into meteor dust.
We'll return to the exciting adventures of Tom Corbett, Space Cadet, in just a moment. So stand by. Hey, everybody, gather around and hear all about the swell prize you get free at no extra cost in every package of Kellogg's Pep. It's a magic moving picture eye. Know what that is? Well, let me tell you. The magic eye is a gleaming plastic disc with a picture mounted in the middle. Now, suppose your magic eye shows you funny man Bob Hope of Paramount Pictures standing there with a baseball bat in his hand. You just tip the magic eye back and forth in your hand, and Bob Hope starts swinging that bat, all ready to swat the ball. You say it's magic, all right, and so will all your friends. And you can get other magic moving picture eyes, too. Next one might have a train on it. You tilt the magic eye, and... boy, the train starts smoking right down the track. How about that, Cadet Tom Corbett?
And say that's not all, Spaceman. You can get a complete set of 16 different magic eyes. You don't have to mail anything in. No box tops, no waiting. Just blast off on a cruise down to the grocery store and get a package of Kellogg's Pep.
Remember, there's a magic eye waiting for you right now, free at no extra cost in every package of the build-up wheat cereal, Kellogg's Pep. P-E-P. Pep. driving forward in a mock attack on the cruiser they trailed through space. Tom, Roger, and Astro were jubilant about their success until the other ship suddenly opened fire with real and deadly atomic warheads. Now, with the Polaris damaged, Astro unconscious, and their communications knocked out, Operation Hide and Seek is no longer a game, but a desperate struggle for survival.
Roger, that isn't Strong's ship, it's the Pollux. The Academy ship that disappeared 3 months ago. What? Sure, it must have been stolen, and the crew kidnapped or killed. It all ties in. Commercial ships missing lately. This one loafing around a space lane.
But who has the nerve to take over an Academy cruiser?
I'm trying to tell you. Space pirates.
Great jammy ghosts. They're out to get rid of us before we can report.
Yes, they've got a darn good chance of succeeding, too.
Those dirty space rats. But what can we do?
Just one thing, I'm afraid. Run for it. Try to make the outer moons of Saturn.
We can't land on those hunks of rock. They'd nail us like shooting fish in a barrel.
We won't land. Just use the moons to dodge the pirates' viewers and radar for a while, until you get that transmitter working.
Then what?
Then I don't know. I'm not even sure we can make the moons. But it's the only chance we have, so full evasion course. Let's go!
Okay, Tom. The radio's putting out a weak signal. Now what?
Now I want you to call Titan.
Titan? What's the matter with you? You'd be giving our position away.
Now, wait a minute. I'm going to be Titan.
You?
Listen, make your call full emergency. Then switch off. Change the circuit a little so it will sound different. Switch on again, and I'll answer from here.
What are you going to...
Will you stop asking questions? Just do as I say. Make that call.
Okay. Here goes. Space Academy cruiser Polaris calling Titan Solar Guard Station. Polaris to Titan, emergency call. Over. Hold it. Now, Tom.
Titan Station to Polaris. All units being alerted for an emergency call. Go ahead, Polaris. Over. Okay, Roger. Make it sound good.
We are under attack by space pirates and stolen Academy ship Pollux. Earlier attack temporarily knocked out our radio, now repaired. We are in full evasion course around outer moons. Can you send help? Over. Go ahead, Tom.
Message received. Help on its way. 3 Solar Guard ships about to blast off. We'll knock those pirates right out of space. Meanwhile, maintain radio silence. Over.
Thanks, Titan. We'll be waiting. In transmission.
Well, that's it. Now we hope for the best.
Yeah, but maybe those space rats didn't even hear the message.
Maybe not. So we'd better keep dodging.
Hey, the Pollux just showed up on my scanner.
Well, that means they can spot us, too. Stand by for another sharp turn.
Well, then, why strain the Polaris when we don't have to?
Don't have to?
The pirate ship hightailing it away from here.
Then he did hear us. We're off the spot.
Now what?
Now we head for Titan and report.
Yeah, but by the time we can alert the Solar Guard, it'll be in the clear. Tom, we'll not follow them.
We can't, Roger. Not in the shape we're in.
Look, I know it's asking for trouble, but they won't be expecting us to follow them.
Sorry, Roger. I'd be willing to take the chance, but you're forgetting Astro. He's still unconscious. We've got to get him to a doctor.
Oh, yeah, but Tom, he'll be all right. He's tough. And anyway, you said he wasn't badly hurt.
I said I didn't think so. I'm not a medic. I'm not sure.
But you know he'd want us to.
Probably, but he's in no condition to say so. And we can't gamble with his life.
He's not that bad. You're just scared.
Not at all. I just stop to think sometimes. Now, let's have the course for Titan.
But, Tom, Okay, I'll figure the course.
And no tricks, Hotshot. Our next stop is Titan. As far as we're concerned, this is the end of Operation Hide and Seek.
Don't miss the next action-packed episode with Tom Corbett, Space Cadet, when the crew of the crippled Polaris encounters the pirate ship again. And there is a battle to the death in Part 2 of Operation Hide and Seek. Tune in, same time, same station, for the next thrilling interplanetary adventure with Tom Corbett, Space Cadet. Brought to you by Kellogg's Pep, the build-up wheat cereal. Tom Corbett, Space Cadet, starring Frankie Thomas, can also be seen on television and appears in the comic sections of many of America's leading newspapers. Look for it daily and in weekend editions. Featured in the cast were Al Markham, Jan Merlin, and Carter Blake. Today's program was written by Don Hughes and directed by Drex Hines. Jackson Beck speaking.
Kellogg's Raisin Bran has a secret. Kellogg's Raisin Bran has a secret.
And what a secret. In Kellogg's Raisin Bran, the tasty raisins are dipped in honeycomb. That means plumper, more tender raisins, along with delicious golden crisp bran flakes. Both fruit and cereal all in one box. And no other raisin bran but Kellogg's gives you the tender goodness of raisins dipped in honeycomb. That's Kellogg's secret. So, for your breakfast, make sure you get Kellogg's, because
Kellogg's Raisin Bran has a secret.
Now 9:30, WCBS, AM and FM, New York. Tired of the everyday grind? Ever dream of a life of romantic adventure? Want to get away from it all? We offer you Escape. Escape, designed to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure. You are standing in inky blackness, looking up a long flight of stairs, at the top of which lurks something unbelievably evil. While in the moving shadows behind you, coming closer to you, is the shadowy figure of something that could only come from a nightmare. Listen now as Escape brings you Anthony Ellis's terrifying story, I Saw Myself Running.
You clear the magazine section, sweetie?
No, but it's all right. Here.
Well, then, if you're not through...
No, you have it.
Thanks. Want the ending stage?
No, no. Teddy. I had the strangest dream last night.
Huh? Anybody we know?
Don't be funny. If you stop reading for a minute, I'll tell you about it.
Okay.
I was scared.
Oh, why didn't you wake me up?
Why? It wouldn't have done any good. It was a nightmare, I guess. You know, the kind where you see yourself running away from something or from somebody.
Too much beer.
I want to ask you. It's very important.
Okay.
Do you notice how sometimes in a dream, everything is happening to you, and then suddenly you find yourself standing there watching yourself, and you say to yourself, it's a dream. I don't have to be frightened because in a minute I'll wake up.
Well, I guess so. Well, something like that, I guess.
Well, last night, a lot of other nights, Freddie, it's been different. It starts the same way, like any other dream, I suppose, but then I'm running away. Somebody I don't know is following me, and then two of us, both men, running.
Coffee still left?
Freddie?
So, honey, I don't know anything about dreams. If you're asking me what I think it means, I don't know. Offhand, I'd say that last bottle of beer. Coffee. Thanks.
Freddie? How do you explain a dream? You don't. You can't. At first it frightened you, and then as the morning passes, it fades, and by lunchtime, forgotten. Freddie and I went to bed early that night. I think I was a little surprised when it began again. I didn't realize I was asleep yet. But it was there. The same as the last time. A face. Only a face. Not unkind, not anything. And it was so far away, and around it was a piece of cardboard with circles drawn on it. The face in the center. And it went round and round. First turning a dot, and then it came closer, and the noise came with it. Everything was spinning so much it made me dizzy, but I could always see it, right side up. It was very close to me, and the face was somebody I'd never seen before. It was a man, I think, and I knew that he didn't care, and I wanted to cry. Then it was gone. I was alone in a big hall, and I thought I'd seen the place before, but I couldn't have done because I knew it was only a dream. Even then, I knew I was dreaming because I could see myself. There was a wide staircase going up into a dark place that was higher than any place I'd ever seen. I was at the foot of the stairs, looking up, and my face was frightened. I saw myself open my mouth to say something, to call upstairs into the dark.
Don't come down, please don't. I don't want to see you. I'm afraid. Don't come down.
But I'd never heard myself before. Not really. I'd always thought I'd said things in dreams, but not this way. Not what I really heard. And the voice wasn't my own. I found myself looking up the staircase with her, and there were two of us standing next to each other, touching. I could feel her hand. It was warm.
But then, you mustn't come down.
Who is it?
I don't know, Susan. I never know. But it's up there, in the shadows.
It's too dark. I can't see anything. What does it look like?
Well, listen. Isn't right. I'm afraid. He'll come down soon, and I'll try to run, but I won't be able to get away. It's always the same.
This is a dream. It's a dream. I'm having a dream. I can wake up now if I want to.
I'll be here alone then. You always leave me here alone.
That's silly. How can I leave you alone when you're me? It's only a dream. I can wake up now.
Oh, no. You've got to stay this time. Look up there. They'll be coming down in a minute. We'll have to run.
I won't run.
I always do. I have to.
No, I want to see it.
It'll kill you if you stay.
How do you know? You haven't even seen it.
You'll kill me, too. I'm afraid.
This is a dream. There's nothing to be afraid of.
It's coming down. Run! Run!
We ran, both of us. And all this time, in all my dreams, that girl I'd seen hadn't been me at all. And then the great hall and staircase weren't there. We were in a lovely garden, and it was very quiet, except for a single bird. And it sang strangely and sadly.
Why do you dream?
What a silly question. Everybody dreams. If you didn't dream, I wouldn't have to be here. I wouldn't be afraid all the time. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's warm. So peaceful. Look at the roses. And the caterpillars.
I'm afraid of caterpillars.
I used to be. I'm not anymore.
I'm still afraid of them.
I remember the first time you dreamed of them.
You'd been frightened when one crawled on your hand. You were very small then. That's the first time I had to be afraid of them.
That was a long time ago. I don't mind them now.
I do. I mind everything you think you've forgotten. Oh, look, there's one crawling on my shoe. Will you squash the caterpillar? I can't. I'm afraid.
All right. What is this place?
It's an airplane.
I've never been in an airplane before.
I know. I'm afraid of them. I fell off. It'll be such a long time for me to know that I'm going to die. I don't want to fall.
Hold on to me. You won't fall. It's only a dream. You see, Buddy's the pilot, and he can't fly. I know he can't.
You keep saying that.
What?
It's only a dream. Doesn't matter to you. You can wake up. I can't. I have to stay. I have to live with this all the time.
Where are we going?
I don't know.
Look, the plane's breaking off.
We're going to fall. We're going to fall now.
It'll be all right. We've got our parachutes on. I know. You have to count to 3 or 10, and then pull the ring. I've seen them do it in the movies. It'll be all right. We'll jump.
No, I can't. I can't. We've got to.
It's such a nice, floating sensation. I've no idea we were so high. I've got to count to 10 and pull the ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I can't find it.
I can't find it. It won't work. I'm going to die. I'm falling. I'm going to die.
Honey. Susan, wake up. You're sleeping. Susan.
Freddie.
No. It's all right. You're okay now. It was a nightmare.
Turn on the light.
There. See?
I was falling. I fell out in an airplane. I was going to die.
My darling. It was that TV show we watched.
Freddie.
It's all right. I love you. You don't have to be afraid. You're right here. Everything's fine, and it's nearly 4 o'clock. Come on. You climb in with me.
Freddie, I don't want to dream anymore. I'm afraid. It was like last night. The other night. But worse.
Now, listen, sister.
Freddie, look at me. Do I sound the same?
Honey,
Do I sound the same? There's 2 of us. When I go to sleep, when I dream, there's another woman there. That's who I've been seeing all these years. It's not me. It's someone else. She's there all the time. Freddie, I don't want to dream anymore. Something's going to happen. I'm afraid.
Now, back to Escape.
Freddie took me to the doctor, and I tried to tell him about the dreams. And when I finished, he examined me, tested my heart, blood pressure. Then he said,
Susan, you're tired. That's what's the matter with you.
But I haven't been doing anything to be tired. Really, I haven't.
You're overwrought. It could be a vitamin deficiency, any number of little things, but it's not serious. You're in good shape. Now, what you need is to get away for a few days.
I feel all right. It's just that dream. The girl, the one who looks like me.
I want you to forget about that dream. It's only because you're tired that you had the dream in the first place. Now, I'm going to give you a sedative to take just before going to bed. A few nights' good sleep, you'll be fit as a fiddle.
I don't want to dream anymore. That's all.
He patted me on the arm, smiling. Freddie smiled. And I took the little box of sedative pills home with me. I couldn't tell them. I couldn't make them understand. It wasn't just a dream. It was something that was happening. Really happening. And that night, I decided that I wouldn't sleep. I'd stay awake. And if I was awake, I couldn't dream. After Freddie was asleep, I got up and went into the living room. I got a new library book and I began to read. It was 11 o'clock then. I'm dead. I wish we had something to make me stay awake. This is silly. I'm a grown woman. Why should I behave like a child? But I'm afraid. Who was she? That girl. It's not a dream. And because it's not, I'm not going to sleep. I'm not. Then what time it gets late, the easier I'm flying. I'll read some make some coffee. At 7 o'clock, I got back in the bed and pretended to still be asleep when Freddie got up. I heard him making coffee, then he came back in, kissed me, left for the office. Somehow I stayed awake the whole day. I tried to buy something at the drugstore to stop me from sleeping, but they wouldn't give it to me without a prescription. And then Freddie called to say he had to entertain some out-of-town people that night. After that, I had to lie down in the living room couch because I felt sick. It was 8 o'clock. I'm not going to go to sleep. I'm not going. I won't. No, but I don't feel well. I've got to lie down a little while. I won't sleep. I'll be all right. Get up. You didn't come last night. I know. I was waiting here. You didn't come down, though. The thing up there. You couldn't have been here. You're only me in the dream. And when I don't dream, you're not here. I'm always here. I have to see the things happen. Things don't really happen in dreams. It's imagination. No, it isn't. Look up there. In the dark. It's up there. Waiting. Soon it'll start to come down. How do you know? It does. And we'll have to run. But if we run, we can't see it. Perhaps if we didn't run and we saw it, we wouldn't be afraid anymore. Oh, no. Listen. It's going to come down. I know it is. We will run. We'll wait for it. I can't. I'm afraid. You're me. I'm not afraid now. You can't be. Look. The darkness at the top of the stairs seemed to move, take shape. And I heard her screaming. I saw myself screaming. But it wasn't my voice. It was the girl I stood next to. And slowly, painfully, she turned away from the stairs and tried to run. It was like a slow-motion picture. Her legs moved, but she stayed in the same place. Then the darkness started to come toward us. It swirled down the stairs, and there was a figure in it, and a face. But the mouth, it wasn't a mouth at all. It had no form. And the face changed and grew bigger, came closer, louder and awful flashes. And I saw myself running. We were standing in a narrow stone passageway. It was cold and damp. And the other girl who wasn't me was holding a gun. We both were. And we looked behind us because around the corner, out of sight, it was following. I heard the telephone ringing. I couldn't understand how there could be a telephone in that place. I'm tired. I can't run anymore. We'll rest for a minute. I wish somebody would answer the telephone. You do it. It turns like my telephone. How can it be? Because this is only a dream. And if I wake up, I'll answer it. It's on a table at the end of the couch. I can wake up and answer it. No, you can't. I won't let you. I'm not going to stay here alone. I've got to wake up. You can't now. And listen. We've got to run again. Don't catch it. No. Hurry. passageway, and I knew the telephone had been my last chance. My last chance to wake up. And I hadn't. I couldn't. There's a light ahead. She won't dare to follow us into the light. Are you tired? Are you? No. It's funny how we seem to almost float. I'm not tired at all. I don't think we need the guns now. I'm going to throw mine away. I'm not. I'm afraid of guns. I used to be. I'm not anymore. Wait a minute. There's 2 men. You see? In the entrance? Yes. I wonder why they're there. Maybe they'll try to stop us from getting out. I've got the gun. Oh, I shouldn't have thrown mine away. It'll be all right. Come on. It's Freddie. Freddie and Dr. Peters. I know. Freddie! Freddie! It's me. Susan.
Stay where you are, Susan. Don't get any closer.
But it's following us. We've got to get out.
You'll have to go back.
No!
Go back, Susan. Go back into the passage.
No! No!
You can't come out anymore, Susan.
They must let me talk to them, Susan. You let me talk to them. I'll take care of it. You'll see. I saw her walk slowly to the entrance. Her all was light. There was sunshine. And the 3 of them talked very quietly. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I knew it was about me. And ever so gently, I heard the sound of the thing that was waiting somewhere in the blackness of the passage. She was pointing at me. And Freddie was laughing. It made me angry. So angry that I forgot to be afraid. I ran over to them, and as I did so, they blocked the entrance, linking their arms to keep me back.
She's told us all about you, Susan. It's taken a long time to find you out.
Stop it. There's no such person. She's me. She's Susan. This is only a dream. I can wake up whenever I want. Stop it. Stop it. It's true. Ask her. Ask her. She'll tell you.
My dear Susan, how can we ask her if you say she doesn't exist? You're tired, overwrought.
I'm not. You mustn't say that. It isn't true. Please, let me out. I'm cold. I'm afraid.
You kept her down here all your life. Now, because you were afraid and cold, you expect us to let you out and make her go back inside.
Freddie, it's me. I'm your wife. Freddie!
I've always been fair. I want to be fair this time. Oh, yes. We have to be fair. Sue? What do you think? Should we let her out?
Oh, no. She'll only wake up and leave me here. I want to wake up this time. Let her stay. You're crazy. She's not Susan. I am. She's nobody. She's in the dream. Stop it. Please.
We have to be fair. We really do. If you only weren't so tired, so overwrought, I suggest we take a vote. Yes, that's eminently fair. A vote.
I think so, too.
We'll vote yea or nay on the proposition. That's the way it's done at board meetings in my office. Yea or nay. We let her out? Yea. We don't let her out? Nay. Sue?
No.
Doctor? Nay. And I cast my vote. Nay. The vote has been taken and duly recorded.
You can't let me stay here.
I think that you'd better talk to her, Susan. You're a woman. It's better that way. Doctor and I'll wait for you outside.
All right. But don't be afraid. You don't have to be afraid now. That comes later when you have to go back into the passage. When I wake up. You can't wake up. Never. You're not allowed. I want to tell you something. When I wake up, I'm not going to be like you. I'll never dream ever again. You're going to stay here alone, just the way you made me do it all your life. You can run. You can run and never be able to escape. But I shan't come here to be with you. Listen. It's waiting for you. Can you hear it? No. Please. Don't let me. Please. You get me. Please. You won't get me if you keep running. But you mustn't ever stop. I'm afraid. I'm afraid. Oh, please. Don't let me go back. I'm scared. I've got to wake up. Please.
I'll wake up now.
Are you all right? Susan. I called you, but there was no answer. I was worried. You all right? Feeling better? You look better. Say, you know what? I've arranged to take 5 days off from the office. We'll go up to the mountains. That's what the doctor ordered. How about it?
Sounds wonderful, sir.
I figured if we... Susan.
Yes, sir?
Your voice. It sounds funny.
My voice? Oh, well, it's me. It's the only voice I've got.
It doesn't sound like you. Are you sure you're...
Oh, silly. How can it be me and not sound like me? Oh, you are silly. Give me a kiss.
Susan. What's the matter with your voice?
Editorial supervision is by John Meston, and the special music for Escape is composed and conducted by Lee Stevens. Next week, you are standing on the bridge of a tramp steamer, a ship captain, sailing through the vast emptiness of the ocean. While on the deck below you, the crew, a desperate gang of cutthroats and murderers, are waiting for a signal that will give them your ship and bring you your death. So listen next week when Escape brings you Anthony Ellis's exciting story, The Trap.
Rice Chex and Wheat Chex, the bite-sized cereals in the red and white checkerboard packages, present Space Patrol! High adventure in the wild, vast reaches of space. Missions of daring in the name of interplanetary justice. Travel into the future with Buzz Corey, Commander-in-Chief of the Space Patrol! In today's transcribed Space Patrol adventure, a saboteur has just escaped from a locked compartment aboard the Terra 5. Now, with ray guns drawn, Buzz and Happy are searching the ship.
He still must have that special spacesuit on, sir. At least it wasn't in the compartment.
How did they get out?
Smashed the door.
Our customer. There he is. After him, Happy. Hold where you are. I'll fire. He's heading for the weapons compartment. This'll stop him.
Wow, that ray gun never even phased him.
That suit. He's completely shielded. Come on, we'll have to tackle him.
He's in the compartment with all the weapons.
All right, Halcorn, come out of there.
Haven't get me. You'd better have something better than a ray gun, because I can drop you if you take another step.
We'll return in just a moment with today's exciting Space Patrol adventure, The Test of the XK-3.
One bowl of Rice Chex. Here you are, Commander.
Thank you.
Me, I'll have Wheat Chex.
Hi, Space Patrollers. This is Commander Corey.
And Cadet Happy, having ourselves a top breakfast with our favorite cereals, Chex.
Rice Chex and Wheat Chex, Space Patrollers. Tops for taste. Terrific tasting out of the box or out of the bowl.
Smoking rockets, they're delicious.
Chex are tops for size. Size just right for easy eating.
You know something, Space Patrollers? That neat bite size makes Chex taste even more delicious.
Right, Hap. And, gang, a good, nourishing breakfast with Chex is Pop's for Get Up and Go.
Official Space Patrol Get Up and Go, just like the Commander has.
So go get 'em, Space Patrollers. Chex, rice or wheat.
In the red and white checkerboard packages.
With a picture of me or the swell picture of Cadet Happy on the outside and the free Space Patrol trading card inside.
Say, Commander, how about another bowl of Chex? This time, I think I'll have rice Chex.
Make mine wheat Chex.
And now today's Space Patrol adventure, the test of the XK-3. Commander Corey faces the problem of capturing Valmer Castro, a criminal whose already clever mind has been transformed into a superintelligence by means of an ingenious brain sensitizer. But as far as the public is concerned, the escaped crime genius is of minor importance compared to a coming race from Pluto to Neptune to test a new space drive for interplanetary flight. Even in Space Patrol headquarters on the man-made planet Terra, the race seems to have taken priority over the search for Castro. In his central office, Buzz Corey focuses a pinpoint tracer beam on a gigantic space chart as Cadet Happy looks on.
This will show you the relative positions of Pluto and Neptune, Happy.
Yes, sir. They're in opposition to the sun.
Right. As far apart from each other as they can ever get, nearly 7 billion miles, or more than 250 million DUs.
Wow, that'll be some race.
Mm-hmm. It's the longest straight line distance between any two relatively stable points in the solar system.
Yes, sir. But if the distance is the object, why not race the two ships clear around the orbit of Pluto?
That may come later, Hap. But if the XK-3 performs the way we think it will, no further test or demonstration will be necessary.
Well, then you think the XK-3 is sure to win?
Well, it's too early to be certain about something as new and revolutionary as the new space drive, Happy.
Well, from what I hear, nobody but a lot of old fogies think the Atlas stands a chance.
Well, I wouldn't call a man an old fogey merely because he puts his faith in something that's been proved dependable. The Atlas has covered billions of DUs with the standard drive.
I'd sure like to be aboard the XK-3, Commander.
No one is going to be aboard either ship. Each will be robot-controlled.
Oh, to keep the human element out of the contest, huh?
At the present stage, the XK-3 space drive isn't shielded against radiation.
Oh?
If the test is successful, shielding will be installed, but it would be pretty expensive to shield a unit that probably will have to be pulled apart anyway for a checkup. All right, Happy, suppose we forget about the race and settle down to work. Huh?
And that means Valmer Castro. Any leads on him yet, sir?
We're checking on his past associates.
Yeah, but now that he's got his super brain, he'll probably get himself a new gang. Crooks more in keeping with his high IQ.
That's undoubtedly what Castro wants to do, but it'll take time. Smart as he is, Castro can't go it alone. He's wanted by the Space Patrol. He'll need help. Obviously, no honest man will help him.
So we'll have to contact some of his old gang.
Right. The doctor's cerebroscope didn't put facts or knowledge in Castro's brain. It only made his brain more able to use the facts that are already there. Right now, he'll use that intelligence to gratify his old selfish motives and weaknesses.
Well, what are his weaknesses, outside of stealing?
That's what we want to find out from his former associates. Let's contact Captain Damon and see if he's picked up any of Castro's old gang.
Elsewhere, in a small community on the planet Mars, Valmer Castro seems entirely unconcerned by the fact that he is number one on the Space Patrol list of wanted criminals. His penetrating eyes never leave those of his visitor, a tall, burly spaceship technician named Grant Halcorn.
You understand, Halcorn? You'll leave at once for the Pluto test base. Your traveling instructions are in this folder.
Well, look, Mr. Castro, I don't know about getting inside the base.
All been arranged. We'll have no trouble if you keep your mouth shut. Once you're aboard the XK-3, well, you know what to do.
I suppose they make a check of the ship before blast-off.
Of course they will. But they won't be looking for stowaways. Not in that gear compartment smack up against the space drive unit. Now, they'll be too interested in checking instruments and controls.
I'm worried about that spacesuit, Mr. Castro. Doesn't seem like much protection.
It's been thoroughly tested. You'll have done your work and be out of the ship before a harmful dose of radiation has a chance to penetrate.
Yeah, if I can stand the exhilaration. That suit's awful bulky. Suppose I can't move to the escape hatch.
The XK-3 won't be given high acceleration until the flight's well underway. By that time, well, you'll have made the necessary adjustments to the robot controls to prevent acceleration.
Sure. Then I bail out as the ship crosses the Jupiter orbit.
That's right. Your jetpack will be sufficient to give you a trajectory away from the XK-3's vector, and I'll pick you up.
Okay, Mr. Castro.
I got this, Halcorn. I've got a considerable sum of money on this race. The XK-3 is the heavy favorite. If the Atlas wins, I'll have 10 million credits to set up my organization.
Now, don't worry. The XK-3 won't stand a chance.
Naturally.
2 days later, in Space Patrol headquarters, Buzz and Happy checked through data Space Patrol agents have supplied on Castro and former members of his gang. On the huge space chart, 2 small lights, one red, one green, move with agonizing slowness sunward from Pluto. Despite the temptation to watch the progress of the race, Happy diligently checks the reports.
What a bum this guy Castro is, Commander. Even his pals can't trust him. Here are 6 guys who've told our agents that if they even saw Castro again, they'd bust him in the jaw.
Well, they might have said that just for effect. Did any of them say why they were angry at him?
Yes, sir. They're all sore about the same thing. Castro made bets with them and then welched when he lost. But he always collected when he won.
Very interesting, Happy. Very interesting. We've just learned something quite useful about Castro.
We have?
Yes. He's a gambler.
Yeah, and very unsportsmanlike.
I'll notify our undercover men to keep an eye on suspected big-time gamblers. They'll need cooperation from local authorities on that. Gambling is out of Space Patrol jurisdiction.
Well, some guys will gamble on anything. I know a mechanic who's betting on the Atlas. Imagine a guy who's supposed to know something about spaceships and he bets against the XK-3.
Well, perhaps out of sense of loyalty, Happy. You know how fond you can get of a spaceship, whether you fly it or help repair it.
Well, he's one of those old fogies who doesn't like anything new.
Well, we must have a lot of old fogies in the universe, Hap. A lot of intelligent people think the Atlas will win.
People must be crazy. The odds are 20 to 1. And look at the chart, sir. The Atlas blasted off ahead of the XK-3, and already the XK-3 is gaining.
The race has just started. Neptune is still millions of DUs away.
Well, the only way the Atlas can win is for somebody to fire a space torpedo into the XK-3.
If you're worried about somebody blasting the XK-3, forget it. I've assigned patrol ships from every planet to guard the race vector.
Oh, the lucky guy that drew the assignment for Terra. Who got it, sir?
Happy, I volunteered to patrol the Terra sector, and now if you'd like to go along.
Would I? Smoking rockets? I mean, yes, sir.
Yeah, there's plenty of time. The lead ship isn't even to the Saturn orbit yet.
Yeah, the Atlas is leading. But I bet the first ship we see is the XK-3. Here it comes, Commander, and right on vector.
Yes, fairly close to schedule, too. Adjust the view scope sensitivity control, Hap. Let's see which ship it is.
Oh, it's the XK-3, of course. What else could... Hey. Commander, it's the Atlas.
Why shouldn't it be the Atlas? It blasted off first. It's the total elapsed time that determines the winner.
Well, yes, sir, but the way the XK-3 was gaining at first...
I'll check with Pluto. Commander Corey aboard Terra 5 calling Pluto Space Control, XK-3 robot testing section. Corey to XK-3 testing section.
This is XK-3 testing section. Go ahead, Commander.
The Atlas just passed Terra Patrol segment of the test vector, approximately on schedule.
Yes, sir. We've been monitoring the Atlas control section. The Atlas was thrown off a vector by meteors outside the Saturn orbit. Velocity was reduced, and vector changed to avoid meteors. The Atlas is now back on positive vector, but behind schedule.
What about the XK-3?
We are having trouble, sir.
What kind of trouble?
Well, Colonel Balcom thinks it's the space drive. Acceleration hasn't developed as it should.
Could it be the robot controls?
No, the Colonel doesn't think so. The new space drive responded perfectly beyond the limit of previous tests. But now there seems to be a dampening off, as the Colonel expressed it.
And you can't compensate by adjusting the robot controls?
We've tried that, Commander. The trouble showed out near the Jupiter orbit. We are in complete control here on Pluto, except that the space drive seems to choke itself off. The Colonel described it as a self-limiting function inherent in the drive force. Acceleration is becoming deceleration. But I would be glad to relay any suggestion to the Colonel.
Colonel Balcom is in complete charge of the XK-3. There are no suggestions. Corey, out.
Of all the rotten luck.
In his private cruiser, Balmer Castro carefully adjusts his spacephone receiver to a prearranged frequency, while holding the vector some distance from that of the test course.
Hello, Commander Castro. Now, Commander Castro.
Castro here. Keep your transmitter power as it is. I can reach you.
If you got to fix on this ship, I'm going to bail out. I've stuck with this crate too long already.
Well, there was a reason. The Atlas was delayed by meteors. I didn't want the XK-3 to gain an advantage because of that.
She's choked down now, Chief. The more they try to accelerate her from Pluto control, the more she'll slough off.
Good. Bail out. I'll pick you up.
Listen, I'm only a speck in space. The momentum of the ship will carry me forward.
I can mentally compute your trajectory when you leave the ship. And don't worry. I may have to hold off until patrol ships are out of range.
I've got it in the view scope, sir. The XK-3. But it might as well be a century-old tub the way it's blooping along.
I can't understand it, Hap. There's nothing in the short test of the XK3 to suggest trouble like this with a new space drive.
Somebody in Pluto Robot Control is goofing up.
Well, that's unlikely, Hap. Any defect in the robot control system would show up in the self-analyzer, the self-monitoring system. And you know as well as that. Hap, look at the viewscope screen, number 3.
Smoking rockets. What is it, a baby meteor?
I don't think so. At any rate, it's receding from us. No meteor was ever that shape. Get a vector on it, Hap.
Yes, sir. Hey, am I nuts? It looks like a man. A man in a spacesuit.
You're right. Line him up in the vector computer, quickly.
Well, what in the name of Jupiter's moons is he doing out there? Now, I've got it, sir. Unless he's changed course with a jetpack or something, this is the way it lines up.
His vector would cross that of the XK3.
Yes, sir. But backtracking the XK3 vector, the ship and the man were at the intersecting point at the same instant. Either they came mighty close to a collision,
or the man's trajectory began at the ship.
In other words, he was aboard the XK3. But that's impossible. Nobody could survive the radiation from the power unit. It's completely unshielded.
I'm changing vector. We're going to overtake that man. Get into a spacesuit, Hap, and then into the airlock. Get ready to pull him aboard.
In a few moments, the Terra 5 has adjusted its forward velocity to match that of the man in the spacesuit. In his own spacesuit, Cadet Happy waits in the airlock with the outer hatch open, ready to pull the man into the ship. Now the strange Voyager floats rigidly, like an inflated toy a few feet from the open hatch, as Happy directs Commander Corey by spaceophone.
I've got him, sir. I'm pulling him in.
Careful. Is he armed?
No, sir. He's got a new type of spacesuit. Thick metal. It looks like a... Uh-oh, my radiation indicator's clicking like mad. This guy's as radioactive as a ton of uranium.
Get him after the decontamination compartment, quickly.
Following Commander Corey's orders, Cadet Happy takes the unresisting captive to the decontamination compartment, thrusts him in, and turns on the radiation neutralizers. Half an hour later, at the commander's request, Happy goes back aft to investigate, then rushes to the control compartment.
Commander, he's gone. He's got out of the compartment.
What?
It's empty, sir. He must be hiding further aft.
I'll cut on to automatic control. All right, come on. Have your ray gun ready.
Yes, sir. He must still have that special spacesuit on, sir. At least it wasn't in the compartment.
How did he get out?
He smashed the door. But the radiation must have been neutralized. The decontaminator was off automatically. There he is.
After him, Hap. Hold where you are, I'll fire.
Commander, he's heading for the weapons compartment.
This will stop him.
Wow, the ray gun never even phased him.
That suit. It's completely shielded. Come on, we'll have to tackle him.
He's in the compartment with all those weapons.
All right, come out of there.
And then get me. And you better have something better than a ray gun, because I can drop you if you take another step.
We'll return to Space Patrol in just a moment. This is Dick Tufeld with news from Edwards Air Force Base, Muroc, California. I've got an interesting story for you this morning about one of the most unusual-looking planes in the sky today, the XF-92A, designed by Convair Aircraft, San Diego. Now, in just a second, I'm going to introduce you to the Air Force test pilot on that plane, Major Chuck Yeager, the first man to fly faster than the speed of sound. But first, I'd like to tell you a few things about the XF-92A. It looks exactly like a triangle. It's often called the flying triangle. Wings are swept back at a severe angle, 60 degrees. Top speed of this Air Force interceptor is about 700 miles per hour. Service ceiling is over 45,000 feet. And it takes some doing to test fly a ship like that. You need energy, plenty of it. And to face the risk involved, you need steady nerves. And now let's hear what a real test pilot has to say about it. Meet Chuck Yeager.
Let me tell you what it takes to be a test pilot. To start with, I have to be in good condition. That means get plenty of rest, plenty of exercise, and good food at every meal. For breakfast, I like a cereal that really tastes good and has plenty of energy.
Like Rice Chex and Wheat Chex, right, Chuck? Yes, Chex are the cereals that are tops 3 ways. For taste, for size, for real get-up and go. So make sure you keep yourself ready for action, the way famous test pilots do. Pick your cereal for flavor and for energy. Today, get Rice Chex and Wheat Chex. And remember, they're tops with America's top pilots. And now, back to our Space Patrol adventure, the test of the XK3. Buzz and Happy, patrolling the Terra segment of a test race vector between Pluto and Neptune, discover a man in a spacesuit, hurtling through space on an angle from the course of the XK3. Oz suspects the man has been aboard the robot-controlled XK-3, but does not know that he is Grant Halcorn, hired by Valmer Castro to sabotage the experimental ship. When Halcorn escapes from the radiation decontamination compartment, Buzz and Happy fire their ray guns at him, but with no result. Halcorn reaches the weapons compartment of the Terra 5 and threatens to shoot the space patrolmen if they move.
You might as well put up those ray guns. They won't penetrate the suit. If you come a step closer, I'll put you both to sleep.
What'll we do, Commander?
This ray gun will work on both of you, even through the cadet suit. You know it. Well, what are you going to do?
All right. Step out and let's talk it over.
There's nothing to talk over. Just keep your distance, Commander.
Just who are you, and what are you doing aboard the XK-3?
Oh, you figured that out, huh? Well, I don't think there's any harm in telling you now. Grant Halcorn. I was just making sure that the XK-3 wouldn't win the race against the Atlas.
Who are you working for?
What makes you think I'm working for anybody?
Because really smart men don't run risks of radiation burns, even in shielded suits. The smart boys hire chumps like you to take all the chances.
That's so.
Now, who would want the new spaceship drive to fail? Someone interested in standard drive ships?
Maybe.
No, Halcorn. Anyone in the industry would realize that one failure wouldn't stop progress. The only one who would benefit would be a man who would bet heavily against the favorite. In other words, a professional gambler. A gambler who refuses to take chances. Someone like Valmer Castro.
All right, Corey. I haven't got time to listen to you. Get moving, both of you.
I hit it right, didn't I, Halcorn?
I said shut up. Go on. Move forward. You too. So smart, Corey. Well, this time you're up against some real brains. Hold it. It's in this compartment. Never mind, I'll look myself. Empty. In you go, Commander. Go on! There. That'll hold Corey. Now you, Cadet, you're coming up forward and show me how to work your space phone. I've got to contact a certain party. All right, Cadet. Stand right where you are. If you move, I'll put you out cold with a ray gun. Got it?
Sure. Big shot.
Halcorn to Castro. Halcorn calling Castro.
Castro here. Go ahead.
I'll make it short, Chief. Aboard Corey's flagship, the Terra 5, but don't worry, I'm in charge.
You telling the truth?
Sure. Commander's locked up in a compartment, and the cadet's here at the business end of a ray gun. Now, here's what I did.
I'm not interested in details. We haven't much time. Head for Jupiter's fourth moon. You know the place I mean.
Yeah, you bet.
Land and come aboard. And we'll blast off for Venus and wait there until my men collect the bets.
You'll collect, all right. The Atlas is sure to win.
I know. Now, change vector for Jupiter moon number 4 as quickly as you can. Castro out.
Right, Chief.
So the commander was right. You are working for Castro.
Shut up and take those controls. Head the ship to Jupiter number 4. Now, don't try any cute antics. What's that? The meteor alarm?
I don't know. Smoke on rockets is the air system. There's a leak in the hull.
Where?
Check the indicator. There, see where that red light's flashing?
Yeah, I see. Well, where's the damage?
In compartment 3. We've got to get there quick.
Take it easy. It's airtight, isn't it? You and I have got spacesuits on.
Yeah, but Commander Corey's in there. He hasn't got a spacesuit.
That's his tough luck.
Look, Halcorn, if you bring the commander into Castro alive, isn't that going to boost your stock?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, then hurry. If we act quickly, maybe we can save it.
All right, get going. Here's compartment 3. Close your face piece.
Okay.
Hurry, Halcorn. We've got to work fast.
Yeah. Hey, where's Corey? Where'd you go?
Drop that ray gun, Halcorn. Drop it. I've got him, Happy. Raise his face piece. Yes, sir.
And sit on him. He's hard to handle.
All right, Halcorn. Just relax.
Now, take it easy, Halcorn. There's no hole in the hull.
Oh, that's a relief, sir. But what set off the alarm?
Thermostat in the bulkhead.
The thermostat? But it'll only sound an alarm if it registers excessive cold or heat.
It was heat that did it. Half friction from rubbing my belt against it. Let's get Halcorn out of that spacesuit so it'll be easier to handle. And we'll get him up forward. And Halcorn, if you know what's good for you, you'll talk.
That's the straight truth, Commander. Castro's waiting for me on Jupiter's fourth moon.
First, I'd like to restore the XK-3's robot controls to normal.
There's nothing you can do about that, Corey.
The XK-3 must be virtually in free fall by now. If we take all the acceleration we can stand, we can overtake the XK3 and correct those instruments.
How can we locate the XK3?
Pluto Space Control is probably broadcasting periodic reports. Check that frequency. I'll go into Halcorn's shielded suit and be ready to go aboard.
By the time Buzz has donned the heavy, cumbersome spacesuit, Happy has obtained a fix on the XK3. It is still hurtling on toward Neptune at a steady velocity, but of course losing ground to the still accelerating Atlas. With Happy at the controls and Halcorn securely bound, the Terra 5 gains steadily on the XK3. Then Commander Corey steps into the airlock, ready to transfer to the robot ship. With the spaceophone transmitter at low power, Happy contacts Buzz.
We're alongside, Commander.
Ready when you are, Hap. Apply magnetic holding field.
Yes, sir. Airlock's joined, sir.
Very good, Happy. I'm going aboard.
Everything okay, sir?
Yes, Hap. I'm at the robot instrument panel now.
Can you fix it, sir?
Yes, but I'd defy anybody to figure out what was wrong if they didn't know exactly what Halcorn did in here. He's made adjustments that gradually cancel out the control impulses from Pluto.
I didn't think Halcorn was that bright.
He just followed instructions. Castro is the genius. He's figured out the right combination to dampen the controls. Something that wouldn't happen by accident once in a million times.
Wow.
I've about got it reset, Hap. It'll take several seconds to build up the balance, which is lucky. It'll give me time to get back to Terra 5 before the space drive takes hold.
I'll be ready to cut loose, sir.
Do it the second I give the word, Hap. There. That's the last setting. Stand by.
Standing by, sir.
I'm in the airlock, Hap. Disengage holding field.
Okay, sir. Smoking rockets. The XK3 really took off. Are you okay, Commander?
Yes. I'll go back to the decontamination compartment and neutralize this radiation. You set a vector for Jupiter's fourth moon.
Following the directions of Grant Halcorn, Cadet Happy skims low over the surface of Jupiter's moon, number 4. Suddenly, below them, in a crater, Buzz and Happy see a private space cruiser. A few moments later, inside the cruiser, Valmer Castro watches with grim satisfaction as a figure lumbers across the floor of the crater in a bulky spacesuit. Then, as he hears steps in the airlock, he draws a ray gun and holds it behind his back.
Well, Halcorn, raise your face, please, and get out of that suit. It must be very uncomfortable.
Hello, Castro.
Corey, hold it. Don't move.
Oh, come now, Castro. A man of your intelligence should know that a ray gun can't penetrate this shielded suit.
It might work at close range. You better hold it, Corey. I warned you.
Hand over the gun. All right, Castro. Get into a spacesuit. I'm taking you aboard Terra 5. And get this simple fact into that super brain of yours. One false move and I'll... Castro, get that suit off. And we'll put you back aft with your friend Halcorn. Prepare to blast off, Happy.
Yes, sir.
Well, what's so funny, Castro?
Well, just amused. You know, when I'm discharged from the center, I'll be free of what you call my criminal tendencies. But I'll still have my superior intellect.
I hope so.
And I'll have more than that. I'll be a very rich man, Corey. And what will you be doing? Still risking your neck while every crook in the solar system hopes you'll break it.
Frankly, that's what I like. But what makes you think you'll be a rich man?
From the money I've won on the race. I can still collect, you know.
Happy, get the Neptune Space Control channel, will you, please?
Yes, sir.
Bulletin NY 459. Repeating for all Space Patrol units. Neptune City Space Control. The robot cargo ship Atlas has just landed at the spaceport completing the non-stop flight from Pluto.
See what I tell you, I won.
The Atlas arrived just 2 hours and 15 minutes after the XK3 broke all records.
It's impossible.
The XK3 with its new space drive roared into victory despite a long delay that gave the Atlas a 10 million DU lead. Official figures of the XK3's record run will be released at 0900 Universal Star Time. Neptune Space Control out.
It can't be.
I don't believe in gambling, Castro, but this is one bet you're going to pay in full.
Ready for blast-off, sir.
Fire rockets.
Fire rockets.
Up, ship and away.
In just a moment, a preview of next week's exciting Space Patrol adventure brought to you by Nestle's Quick for the greatest tasting chocolate milk and those famous Nestle chocolate bars. Hey, gang, do you hear this at your house? Come and get it! Nestle's Quick! Yes, that's the Nestle's Quick Call, music to the ears of every space patroller. Quick makes the most delicious chocolate milk ever invented. It's rich, it's smooth, it's super chocolatey. Tastes just like those wonderful Nestle's chocolate bars. And say, you can make your own frosty glass of Nestle's Quick in no time flat, anytime you want it. Because after you pour out your glass of milk, yes, I said after, then you just put in 2 spoonfuls of smooth chocolate Quick powder and give it a little stir. And, gang, that's all you have to do to make the chocolate milk that's real George. Mom will find Nestle's Quick in the big brown and yellow can, so ask her to get plenty because Quick is so full of vitamin D, it's better than good for you. Come and get it! Nestle's Quick! And now, a preview of next week's exciting Space Patrol adventure. Buzz and Happy are testing a new spaceship out beyond the Saturn orbit. Suddenly, they find themselves on a collision course with another spaceship.
That pilot must be crazy. He suddenly changed vector right toward us.
He's not trying evasive action, so it's up to us. Fire starboard rockets.
Commander, he's still coming at us.
Hap, that ship is a robot-controlled guided missile. If we don't blow it up, it'll hit us. Stand by to fire space torpedoes.
Standing by, sir.
Fire 1.
Commander, the torpedo controls are jammed. We're going to crash.
Be sure to join us next week for the thrilling story, The Image of Evil. Space Patrol, created by Mike Moser, starring Ed Kemmer as Commander Corey and Lynn Osborne as Cadet Happy, was written by Lou Houston. Produced and directed by Larry Robertson, executive producer Mike Devery. Other players were Bela Kovach, Norman Jolly, and Ken Mayer. Dick Tufeld speaking. Now, don't forget to tune in next Saturday and every Saturday for the new exciting Space Patrol. Space Patrol was brought to you today by Rice Chex and Wheat Chex, the bite-sized cereals in the red and white checkerboard packages. Be sure to see another exciting Space Patrol program on your local ABC television station. Consult your local paper for time and channel. This program is broadcast to our armed forces overseas through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Space Patrol came to you transcribed from Hollywood. This is ABC Radio Network.